Wallride X marks the spot. Welcome to Wallride X, the Wallride exclusive, the Wallride experience. My name is Dez, aka FlippinBoards. I buy, sell, trade, and collect rare skateboard decks. You should too. That guy right there, 30 years in the game. Mr. Sugar, Mr. Unified, Mr. Best Kept Secret that everyone knows about. So secret's out. Marko, Sharko, Jazbinsek.
What's up?
Yeah.
Tonight, we're going back to the 80s and the 90s. Tonight's guest is a fast skater, one of the best pipe skaters, Hall of Famer, a brand creator, pro skater, Jim Gray. What's up?
Nice.
Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
And
I was stoked when I was invited, and I realized it's Marko that I used to make sugar skateboards for back in the earliest days.
You made my first boards at ABC Board Supply.
I like that.
Great times.
when was this?
Mid-90s.
Dude, I was
1995, 1996.
I know, that's so long ago.
I was in the
30 years
diapers.
ago.
Yeah.
I was in diapers, so I'm literally ready to just learn.
That's a rad thing about skateboarding.
Right.
I've watched 5 generations grow up in diapers. And kids I knew that are in diapers are called legends now.
Word.
That's
Speaking
when,
of,
that's when you know you're old.
you're a legend. You just got inducted into the Skateboard Hall of Fame, so
Congrats.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Seriously, man.
No, I appreciate that.
Come on, guys. Clap it up. Hall of Fame right here. 2025 inductee. Yes.
From the laugh track from the Peanut Gallery. Okay. Yeah, no, it was very cool. It's one of those things. There's a lot to it. You know, whatever. There's a group picks it. You know, some people I think push for it, lobby. I figure whatever. Someday I'll probably get in there because I don't know. But I actually got double inducted, which was pretty cool.
Cool.
Which is only 4 people they've inducted that way, and that was as an icon and a skater. So both for your industry stuff and as a skater. So that was kind of a nice honor.
So clap again, because he's double inducted. Come on, guys.
Hey, it only happens once. You got to suck it up while you get it.
Right,
So
right.
next year people go, who got this one? We don't care about you. Go away.
Charlie King question.
Okay.
What is your current setup? Deck size, wheelbase, length?
Okay, I'm gonna give you my best guess because I think it's about 33 and a half long, about 9 1/4 wide. I think my wheelbase is now 15 7/8. Because I rode tracker trucks for years, and it was like a 15, but I ride Ace trucks now for the last few years, and they turn a little quicker. So I extended my wheelbase because I kept squirreling out and eating shit. So it kept falling on my face because I had too squirrely of a wheelbase.
So we're talking shape decks.
Shape decks, yeah, like a round nose, square-ish tail, not super old school, kind of a hybrid of going back to the old days. But yeah, I rode popsicles for a few years, but for some reason I just like looking down and seeing a shape on my board.
He was also asking if you can take him to Angelo's.
So
So what is that?
Angelo Gulati, his parents owned the Whittier Skate City Skatepark, one of the original, LA, Southern California parks. And about 15 years ago, Lance Mountain kind of helped him redesign the Whittier Clover Bowl. And he lives in Malibu, and he built it in Malibu. So Angelo's is my favorite place to skate on earth. If I could only skate one place for the rest of my life and never go anywhere else, that would be it. Just leave me there, because we've got a full pool right here, an empty pool here, a beautiful 180-degree view with water. And he actually recently built a small 5-foot reservoir bowl behind it. So it's kind of like a somewhat of a skate park. And yeah, unfortunately, guys like try, they'll see it on Instagram and Facebook. Angelo is a good friend. I usually can invite a few people when I go. But it's not like I just don't bring 25 people and just show up when I want.
Right.
So, but Angelo is super cool, and this is some of the best sessions I get these days.
Wow. So next question is Kevin Davis' question.
Okay.
What was your first setup?
Well, my
size, graphics.
very first setups I bought was first like a Black Knight, a wooden board with clay wheels. Just
clay wheels.
Clay wheels.
And when was this? We got to date everything. I'm trying to become a skate
I'm
historian.
like 9 or 10. I'm gonna guess, was that 1974 or 5, something like that. And then I rode that just around the neighborhood, because everybody was getting them. You bought them at the drugstore for $20, and then things stepped up to urethane wheels, and I got a board from a company called Grentech, and there was a Grentech it was a plastic board with ball bearings but urethane wheels. And then, and that was my second board. And we mostly just rode those around the neighborhoods, jumped over trash can, whatever, like put a broomstick between trash cans, jump over them, did all sorts of goofy stuff. And then skateboarding really hit in like 75, 76. And I think they opened a skateboard shop somewhere in Fountain Valley, and I won a skateboard deck, and I bought some wheels. So my first, probably more modern, like in the world of skateboarding thing from a skate shop was a Sunshine Skateboards in Fountain Valley, California. I won a deck at the demo they had. Bought some wheels at the Vans store. Vans used to actually sell Vans branded wheels. So about 2 red ones and 2 blue ones. And I think
They sold them separately like that?
Well, sold them separately like that. Yeah. So I bought
okay.
two red, 2 blue, and I got some tracker trucks. And that was my first real board. And then after that, we made our own boards. Made them out of ash, kind of like Logan Erskies. Made them out of plywood. We put resin and sand on top of them, grip tape, and we did our own stuff. And then I got sponsored. So the only 2 boards I really ever purchased were those first starter boards for $20 in the store, and after that I was sponsored.
You only bought 2 boards in your whole life.
Yeah, and I made a couple million. So.
And you made a couple million boards?
I manufactured a couple million boards. Yeah.
Wow.
So I always find that weird that I've only bought 2 boards and I've made 2 million of them. So.
Well, that's your factory right there. ABC.
It is actually funny on my watch. It's just a stack of wood.
Hey.
It's one of my watch faces.
I was actually pointing at the advertisement.
Oh, you're right. My watch face actually has a stack of
molds.
thousands of boards.
Oh, the uncut decks.
And yeah, that was my factory in Costa Mesa.
So where did you grow up skating? Like, are you from?
I'm from Orange County.
Okay.
So I lived in Westminster, which was kind of near Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley, kind of. We all bordered each other. My brother was the one who got me into skateboarding. He dragged me out. Only the top's upside down. That was on purpose. It made you flip the magazine upside down to read the
boom, still works.
So
that's probably like 4,000 or 5,000 skateboards curing on the floor. Each pallet had like maybe 400 boards on it, and
there we go.
Basically a sea of skateboards curing. Which is a really key thing to making a good skateboard.
Dude, that's you?
How long you let it cure. Yeah, that's me when I'm 16.
I was always wondering, Jim, there's 4 decks in the mold. Why 4? Why not just 1?
Well, first thing, say I had 24 cavities, and with 4 in a mold, I could laminate like 96 boards in an hour, because I let them sit in there for about an hour. If I put 1 in there, I could laminate 24 boards an hour. So those presses that cost $130,000 to make, I would have to have 4 sets of those presses, and that was challenging enough for a kid in his 20s to muster up a way to find $130,000 to build presses, because I built everything. I didn't buy. A lot of guys buy like an old door press and they rig it and stuff like that. I had stuff custom made, and you probably would get a little more accurate. It would have increased the cost a lot because of the machinery costs and also the handling costs. We drilled 4 boards at a time. We rough cut, 4 boards at a time, a whole stack, and then you individually shape the boards beyond that. So we put pins in the molds so that we always centered the concave. And that's one thing, you find an ABC board, you put a ruler on the nose and you'll see the equal light on both sides. You do that with some other brands, you go, holy shit, on this side you see that much, this side's that much, because they don't drill them in the center of their boards, because they estimate when they drill. We had pins in our molds that located the center of the concave, so you just always centered that, because when you press wood and it's going down to press, it slides around, and then one piece right here might stick off 1/4 inch. Now if you use that for registering it pushes the whole stack off 1/4 inch, and you wonder why the boards are all drilled off the center of the concave. Whoa. Real easy, big mistake done by some of the biggest people out there who claim to be the biggest know-it-alls of skateboarding. Drilled a lot of their boards wrong.
Wow.
Something we never did. So, but that's why we did 4, because that seemed to be the most efficient. Some people do 5. I think Paul Schmidt does 5. We never even tried that, because I think they soften out too much.
Yeah, the issue that I have with multiple decks in a mold is that the top one has the most concave. The bottom one is the flattest one. And sometimes I have to go to like a stack of decks
to find one to ride for yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm super finicky on boards too.
And just another example, Paul Rodriguez, I think he skates the second one down in the mold. And then a lot of like manual skaters, they'll skate the bottom one because it's the flattest one.
Whoa. That's interesting, because I never really even had team guys who we ever picked a certain board for them. Again, we were real adamant about how we cured our boards, because boards, if you start cutting them too quick, they won't hold the concave. You want them to dry. You can cut a board technically in like a day or 2 after you pressed it, but a lot of times it leaves a lot of the moisture in it. The moisture in the glue isn't done evaporating, so you want to wait till the moisture in the glue is done evaporating. It's hard before you start cutting it, because when you seal the paint, the moisture doesn't come out as much anymore.
Wow.
So you get two boards coming out of the same factory, same exact wood from the same mill they came from, in two different brands, and one's like literally weighs like a pound more than the other because those guys cut it 2 days after they laminated it. And that's why you see that sea of boards right there. We tried not to touch stuff for like a week, even though you could cut it after a couple days because it just cured it better and it made it a little more solid. Yeah.
So at age 20, you were already making.
No, I forgot. I was 28, 29, something like that. I started Acme, and it was probably in my early 30s when I built the factory. Wow. 95. So I have to go back and figure out years. 95, 2025, so it's 30 years ago, right? Yeah, so we built the factory 30 years ago. So it's 32.
Let's pull a board.
Let's do it. So, my little contribution to skateboarding. Something fun. So I created these things.
Surprise deck.
Surprise deck.
He is one of the biggest skateboard deck collectors
out
there.
I love it. It's awesome.
How many decks?
Started with 20 boards in 2021, and now I'm at 3,500.
Wow.
Kind of crazy.
You're psycho.
Yes.
I have like 1,500, and I accumulated them. I didn't collect them. Just happened to be.
Shout out to my wife for.
Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Putting up with you.
Because without beautiful, lovely ladies like you, it wouldn't be possible.
It's not possible.
And you must be awful eyes, so she wouldn't put up with your ass for having 3,500 skateboards. It goes both ways.
He said it. So one thing that I want to introduce to the game is just making things more fun from a collector standpoint. So we have these surprise decks. You don't know what you're gonna get. You just gotta crack it open. Add a little more ASMR to the game. I'll let you do that.
I like this.
Perforated on top, so you can
I see it.
Open it up, pull it out.
I can say I've been skateboarding for like 50 years. I've never had a surprise deck given to me in a package. So, oh man, look at that. Neil Blender, coffee break.
I'll take the bag.
No, that's awesome. I mean, Neil was a good friend of mine. I skated a lot with him when we were like 16 years old. I had a car and he didn't, so I drove us down to San Diego a lot. And,
hold that up.
Yeah. Neil Blender coffee break.
Boom.
That's sick.
And this is
dipped.
This is 100% Neil. That's a good word. Dipped. Because none of them are dipped.
They're sprayed.
They're sprayed. I know. And as a manufacturer,
let's clear it.
Irritates the fuck out of me.
Really?
Okay, we're gonna clear a couple things up really quick. All
right.
Dipped just means painted all the way around. Okay. There are some instances where you literally could dip a board and let it drip dry. They don't. Nobody does it that way. They're sprayed. But so as a guy who made boards, you say dipped. Go fuck off. Sorry, pardon my language. Then the other thing is Canadian maple. Okay. The maple doesn't come from Canada.
No.
Some of it, very tiny bits. The biggest mills have always been in Wisconsin. And the wood comes from Wisconsin and
Michigan,
Vermont,
Great Lakes
area.
Yeah.
Not
Canadian maple.
And I the only way I can kind of guess, because everyone calls it North American hard rock maple, but somewhere along the 80s, I think it might have been Skull Skates because they're from Canada. Okay. I don't know, maybe they started using the term Canadian maple. And people will use that as like, it used to be a diversionary thing. Like if it was a board coming from like China, it'd be like, Canadian maple. It's like when it really was never Canadian.
When I see Canadian maple, just sketch. I normally don't touch it. Yeah, because you don't know what's in it.
If someone uses the term, they're using it to make you think it's something.
It's deceptive.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, it's North American hard rock maple.
Yep.
And most of it does come from the U.S. In fact, even most of the Chinese boards that you get now, the logs are shipped from those mills to China. Because there's so much stuff that comes from China, the containers go back empty. So containers come here and cost $6,000 to ship. They cost like $800 to ship back to China because they're always empty. The boats go back empty. So it's super cheap for the Chinese factories back there to ship the logs from here, and then you have such cheap labor there. They spin the logs manuals with that. So that's why you get a skateboard coming back for $5
so
from China.
How do you know? How do you really know?
Let me throw something. I just always joked around. The skateboard travels around the globe 3 times before it hits your feet. Right? The wood gets sent over there, back over here, back to Europe and Asia for sales. 3 times around the world before you put on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, in
in
today's world, it kind of does. But I mean, that's one thing we were really proud about. That I literally got wood from Wisconsin, shipped on a rail to California, pressed it in California, painted it, finished it, boxed it, and went to your store. And I was actually the only pro skateboarder in history that I'm aware of that actually built a skateboard factory. Wow. I think Jamie Thomas bought one in Mexico. There's been a couple other guys, but I'm the only guy who literally started from scratch and built a skateboard factory. So to me, that was really special. Like, we made it right there. It was really, we touched it. It was, when you got it, you knew it came from skaters. Like I said, it was cured properly. The problem being, skateboarding is mostly marketing driven.
Yeah.
So you had the World Industries, the whatever, the foundation. They were more hyping and marketing their team more than their product. We really focused on our product, and it's hard to battle, you know. And I rattled a lot of feathers because I always called them on their bullshit, and you know, did ads poking fun of a lot of the bullshit in skateboarding, and so yeah, I always had a lot of kind of knives getting stuck in my back, but yeah, technically we should have had the ultimate factory. Like you're a skater. We can just, by the same price, get from a skater-owned, truly skater-owned, manufactured, high quality. But your average skater doesn't care. They just want whatever logo looks good, makes them feel good, and I get that too. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We all do that with clothes, shoes, whatever. So, skateboarding, it's been hard to basically sell based on quality.
Yeah, people still really don't know what goes into it.
Oh no, they don't. You know, actually, a lot of the Chinese boards have gotten so much better. They've gotten better at making them look better. One of the things they do though is when you talk about pressing them, those ones they get made one in a mold because they radio frequency cure them. They actually put
heat,
they heat cure it in 5 minutes. So where we set it for an hour, so it not cured naturally with the moisture oozing out of the thing, and then sat on the floor for there. They literally cold pressed, yeah, which is a better long-term press. But the heat pressed ones take all the moisture out right away, out of the wood as well. It makes them really light. But then you wonder why they snap like matchsticks. You know, like our boards wouldn't snap like matchsticks. If they did anything, they'd crack. And you could keep riding, crack a little bit more. And if you really did something gnarly, it might eventually break. But even then, sometimes they would break and just flex to the ground. But most of the Chinese boards, you could focus them; they just snap like a matchstick. You know, because they were dry.
Interesting. That's what I was going to ask. Like, well, what does it matter if the skateboard works?
I mean, they feel good. And again, they talk about the pop. Oh, God, it's got good pop. It's dry. It's poppy. It's not going to last very long. But you know, but they do feel good out the gate. So.
What about from a cost standpoint?
Well, I never bought radio frequency glue, so I don't really know the difference. But they're sure saving time. You know, because again, it's how many turns you get out of that mold, how many times you get that board. I mean, if you got one in there for 5 minutes, you can do that. Like, say, it takes a couple seconds to get one in and out. You can have 10 cycles in an hour, and I have 4 boards going in an hour. So.
Why didn't you give in?
Because I love skateboarding too much. You know, I just love, like, I wouldn't make something I wouldn't ride. You know, and there's a lot of stuff I've seen from guys that big name guys got really big, and I've seen them like put out like some goofy longboard or something like that. Would you put your name on that? I'd be embarrassed. You know, I don't know. I'm stubborn in that way, I guess.
GNS, who was on the team?
Well, my core team that I rode for was Billy Ruff, who I think a lot of people, like young kids, don't know, but he was one of the true, really consistent. He always placed in the top 5. You know, competitive-wise. And you had Neil Blunder, who also placed pretty consistently, top 10, but also had his art talent. And then Chris Miller, he was a young kid. There was a young kid on our team, and he's probably still the best skater over 50 years old. Especially if you put him in a pool or something like that. Yeah, Chris Miller is just unreal as a skater. So yeah, I always say like 3 cool guys in gym. That was our team. You know, that's our guy.
Was Doug Smith?
Doug Smith? Doug Smith came a little after. He was a little bit more. I don't know if he was like late 80s into early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, I drifted off GNS in like the kind of late, you know, or kind of mid to late 80s. And for no particular reason, I love GNS. I later in the 90s licensed GNS and manufactured the GNS boards in my factory and sold them because they were a big part of my heart and soul. And even today, my girlfriend's doing a documentary on Gordon and Smith. She has a film company.
Cool.
And so, I mean, I'm just fun watching that take place. But then I quit because at that time they became a clothing company more than a skateboard company, and I just kind of wanted to go do my own thing.
Goods.
And there was not a lot of money in it. We didn't care. Like, we made $50 here and there, $100, like. So I just went out to do my own thing.
Jim, why do you think that skateboards and skateboarding switched from riding plastic to wood? Maple. Basically, that's what we skate today, is maple. It used to be plastic.
What was plastic?
Skateboards used to be plastic.
Well, like I said, my second skateboard I bought was
made out of plastic.
Well, then for a lot of fiberglass. A lot of
right.
flexy thing.
So why do we go from plastic to wood?
I think the ease of manipulating shapes, the ease of changing, going from a 7.5 to an 8-inch, a 9-inch. You know, it's like a lot. It's a lot less tiresome on your equipment, on your machinery. Cutting fiberglass is a real bitch. I mean, it takes diamond blades and things that don't last as long. There's also a different sound difference.
What about performance?
To be honest, I think you probably could build a more higher performing board out of carbon fiber and fiberglass. You truly can. But they never sound like a skateboard. They always have like a springy, clangy, like just
Like a
almost
pop,
like
pop is different.
kind of like a poppy different. It's annoying. It's a rattle. It's like a rattle that I've never seen one able to get rid of that. I mean, I've ridden a lot of boards over the years. At G&S, we used to make boards called fiber lambs, which were 6 plies instead of 7 with 1 ply of fiberglass. It strengthened the board a lot. It made the board a lot lighter. It's all I ever rode for G&S was fiber lambs, and that helped a little bit. But again, stuff doesn't catch on because who can make it, right? So I made skateboards. Paul Schmidt made skateboards. You had Powell making skateboards. You had Watson down in San Diego, and then you had guys like Santa Cruz had their stuff made at an outside factory, and They all made it outside factories. They only were able to offer what other people made. Okay, so it became the 7-ply. Once a 7-ply pressed, first it was called the Rocket skateboard, which was the first one that was introduced by Tracker. That was the first 7-ply skateboard, and then Santa Cruz came out with 7-ply skateboards. That's what started the whole Indie Tracker truck war in the first place, is the manufacturing of the 7-ply skateboard.
Is it in the 80s, late 80s?
This was probably, no, this might be 79 even.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. Basically, Santa Cruz started selling skateboards, and they made wheels, and Tracker made trucks. They made the first made for skateboarding truck, and they basically made a deal. We'll put your trucks on our skateboards, and then we'll make the boards and wheels. And then because Larry was from San Diego, Tracker,
Larry
Balma, and he knew the guys at what's called Acme Manufacturing, who laminated a board for him. They call it the Rocket Skateboard. So Tracker introduced the Rocket Skateboard, and it never hit really hard, never went really big, but it started a war between Santa Cruz and Tracker, and that fuck you, then we're making our own truck, and they went out and made the independent truck.
Marko, were you that particular where you paid attention to the sound of a board?
Yes, for example, I can only skate maple, and it's the flexibility, it's the pop, it's when it gets sharp, it doesn't really cut you. Like fiberglass will cut you, It's like
you don't want to feel fiberglass across your hand.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, like we've been riding maple for decades. Where are we going?
Well, I think every time someone does something, you end up with those problems. It was light, it was awesome, it felt good, but then it's all it shreds up and it's sharp and it gets dangerous. And the cost, it's typically been 50% more, to make a pure fiberglass board or a carbon fiber board.
And what I was thinking, the whole economics of our industry is based on making decks, and pumping them out. That's how we make money. So if somebody comes out with some kind of injection molded product, they will last forever. I mean, there goes the sales,
Well, here's a good example for when World tried to take all the manufacturing to China. They literally went around and begged Alien Workshop and Birdhouse, and you need to follow us, come with us, because we're going to lower our prices, we'll kill everybody else. And everybody's like, no, we're not going to. And they all held off. So World released all their Chinese boards at the time. The wholesale price of a board was $35. They released them for $25. They didn't increase their sales. They didn't take over all the sales because their boards were $10 cheaper, because that wasn't really the defining factor. It was marketing, it was image. Their image didn't get any better, and the other people's didn't get any worse. People were just willing, and I don't think it really the boards ended up selling for much cheaper in the stores. So that didn't help. The economics didn't help.
Early 90s.
That was mid 90s.
Mid 90s.
And then eventually it just became a fact of, it was just so cheap that everybody went there over time. But it didn't do what they were hoping. I mean, literally they were hoping to just smash everybody and just laugh. Powell, half Santa Cruz, you're out of business. And it didn't work that way.
So it was pretty cutthroat.
Oh no, skateboarding for such a cool brotherhood. Just being here with a bunch of skaters is super cool to me. But when the industry, biggest assholes on earth. Dudes it's like, hey Jim, how you doing? And then when you leave the building, they're calling your salesperson trying to hire them from you. I mean, it's really ruthless. Guys that, that I never would have thought stuff that I wouldn't do to people. One of my first team members for Acme was Remy Stratton, and he wrote for Gordon and Smith. So I called Larry Gordon from Gordon and Smith and said, hey, Remy's been talking to me. He's kind of interested in riding for my company, Acme. I go, but I would never just surprise you and have you read an ad one day with this guy on it. He's like, oh, well, we're good friends. We've had he's kind of run his course. I'd be okay with that. But I made a phone call. People, that never happened to me. You know what I mean? When people were poached from me, it was always guys were calling them at night going, how much is it going to take? $100 more a month? It was just really so it really has to do with your character and how you act as a person. You know, I would tell people that I, like to say, hey, if you're ever between sponsors, give me a call. You know, like I never would I say like, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? Because I have respect for other people's businesses. I think, I know that it's important to their business. Their riders are, so I'm not going to steal them.
So what made you ride for GNS?
I grew up skating, Big O Skatepark. I got on Powerflex first, and then Powerflex kind of had some internal problems with the partners and kind of faded off. And then Steve Cathy, who was a big early GNS team rider and then became the team manager, asked me to ride for GNS. So it was kind of like, I don't know, a kid today getting on Fucking Awesome or getting on Zero a couple of years ago. I mean, getting on GNS was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I got a box with like, multiple boards and bearings and bunch of shirts. And I thought it was like, my dad seriously asked me, you seriously, someone gave you this stuff? You know what I mean? Because it was kind of like too good to be true kind of stuff. So Steve Cathy asked me to be on GNS. And he was probably my first mentor in skateboarding, or someone I looked up to, because he did a lot more than just a skater. He made the yo-yo wheel thing for them. I think at one point he owned a car wash. He's had a snowboard company. He started in the early days. And he was always dabbling in other things. And I thought, cool, you can do business and be a skater too. So,
how was the '80s era? Trick innovation, product shapes.
I can take this too, by the way.
Well, I think I call the era from.
Then we'll get into the '90s.
Yeah, I call era from 78, 79 to like 83. That was the pioneering generation. That's when everything was created. I mean,
tricks were being invented.
Mostly tricks, and even the board hasn't changed much since then. The stuff when we did end up on that 7-ply maple, it's changed. What are we, round the edges or square the edges? How wide they get it like that? But
basic instruction is the same.
Basic instruction is the same. So I'm very honored to be part of that generation. I have a couple tricks I invented. It's like why? Because we were just out trying to see how things worked, and we'd try something. And for instance, I'd be doing something, Neil Blender would go, "It's a gray slide. That's why it's called a gray slide."
Let's talk about those tricks.
Yeah, because
the tricks you invented,
and they're both named by Neil Blender, because he was because he was my teammate, and he really was he's very kind of very introverted, very quirky, but funny too, really entertaining. So he would just blurt things out. You do a trick on a curb, it's a Barnaby Jones. You know what I mean? He would just literally make up names. It's a Benihana. It's whatever. So a Jim Jam was a tail tap that went south, because my foot always came off, and I would turn around and kind of jump back in. And after doing it for a while, I started like dragging my board and just jumping back in. And so proper Jim Jam is like a back. I mean, some people call it a sweeper. I did it before the front side sweeper, so it kind of irritates me that it's not like a front side Jim Jam. But got to make fun of those things. But yeah, so it was an accidentally learned trick in that era. You can't accidentally learn too much anymore, because there's been so many things done.
Almost everything's been done.
Yeah. So here you're just going, we do tail taps. My foot keeps coming out. I jump back in. After you develop into something else, Neil Blender goes, "It's a Jim Jam," and then that became named a trick. And then the gray slide was like a front side grind to tail slide. So you'd grind, grabbing your nose, put your hand on the coping, and then slide out of the grind into your tail, and then hopefully across 2 or 3 coping blocks. So it's kind of like a combination of a grind, a tail slide, and a layback. Because you're if you do it right, you're contorted and stretched out, and and even that, years later, probably in the last 10 years, someone showed a video of Jay Adams doing a nose grab, and then he went to tail and came in. And people were like, "Oh, Jay Adams invented that. That wasn't Jim." And like, it wasn't the same trick, 'cause he didn't slide. It was very different. But I hadn't even seen that until like 10 years ago, and that was done back then too. So everyone was kind of doing their own variations of it. But the reason they're called the Jim Jam and the Gray Slide is because Neil Blender named them that. So, so yes, I'm arrogant, but not that arrogant.
And there's footage of that.
It's my own.
There's footage.
Well, I mean, there's footage of those tricks from the early days, but I mean, not necessarily like right when they were created, and because I wasn't Neil Blender, I wasn't Tony Hawk, I wasn't placing top 5 in the country. So when the photographers came, they weren't shooting me. They were trying to get a picture of Christian Hosoi or Dwayne Peters or whatever. And sometimes now they'll resurface and go, "Oh, look, I found this picture of you from Marina Del Rey." Because back then they didn't even bother looking at it, because it wasn't going to be considered for the magazines, because there's a hierarchy, just like there is now. Like who's going to get in the Thrasher part is still kind of a hierarchy of cool and connection, all that, and took a while to kind of earn your way into that.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
We have a whole segment of that. Let's pull the next board, and then your Instagram handle is
Graceland.
Cool.
Follow, check out,
the surprise
learn.
deck.
This is it, man. Yeah, because there's excitement behind this. Like,
No,
if
but
you
I love
gift
the
this,
bag. Like you had a
know?
bag made.
Yeah,
you got
had 'em made,
You got it
like,
sealed up like your
Let's see what you got. You
your
know?
Amazon package or whatever.
is
That's
it,
your little
man.
cheap envelope.
Just
Rips
imagine
open
you
really
get
easy,
this, you're like,
yeah.
dang, you actually care. Then rip it open and.
Hey, you
do
got
your
my
thing.
attention. I'm like, hey.
Ooh, it's already.
I'm gonna hand it off right away. I'm starting to learn as we go to that round
Marko
2.
collects the box tops.
Marco's
He gets 50.
Okay,
He
what
gets
do
a
we
free
see?
board.
Oh, Blockhead. Here we go. Yep.
Show that baby.
Yep. This was my alma mater from maybe 87 till I started Acme in 91.
So from GNS to Blockhead, something
Actually,
in between.
A short thing. Haro
BMX
was a BMX company,
brand?
and they made. And this is how different I am than most skaters, because that was real taboo, right? BMX, but Bob Haro was way cooler than most of the skateboard company owners. So I was happy to ride Bob Haro's pads and elbow pads and knee pads because he was a fucking rad dude. He was great at his sport. He was a great artist. The guy who ran his company was real professional. They were really professional, easy to deal with, and I love those guys. So when I had quit GNS, didn't know what I wanted to do, just kind of dabbling out there. At the time, I was like 25, and back then that was like, no, you're done. Pro skating's over at 25. Yeah, I think because there's
finished
for
the
sure because
career?
all the other guys, the Dwayne Peters, Eddie Algueras, all the guys, they had already basically disappeared. They were no longer really current pro skaters. They went away. So we were the top of that generation. We thought we're done. There's already new kids coming in. I mean, I'm 25. That means Chris Miller was probably 22 or 21, and twice as good as you. You're already handing off the generation. So literally, that's part of why I just went out to find myself. Like, whatever, it didn't matter. I was never going to make money off this or whatever. So Haro made pads. He said, we should make some skateboards. And so we ended up making a skateboard. And so we did have a Haro Jim Gray skateboard and a few other boards. And then some big bike company came along and offered them like millions to buy the whole company. And they didn't want to have skateboards. So it got like canceled right after it was released. So those boards are pretty collectible when it comes to a collectible.
You have one?
A Jim Gray. I have one of each color they made. They're hard to find. I get begged by people now and then. Oh, please sell me one. I'm like, nah. Because they only did like one run of 3 colors.
Wow.
Probably, and that was gone. So what happened in the meanwhile? The ASR used to be the biggest trade show, action sports retailer, and basically the big companies, the Powells, the Santa Cruz, whatever, had their big booth, and they were in the fancy spots and Quicksilver and whatever like that. And when you're at the new little skate brand or even surf brand, you're stuck out in the far hall in the corner. Okay,
extremely disrespectful.
Extremely disrespectful. Yeah,
brands. I've
yeah.
done it. It's just
it's
BS.
Why?
Well, honestly, because the show grows so big, they can't even fit them in the hall, and they want to give you a shot, so they add a second hall. But the problem is, unfortunately, it's like saying, it's like the pretty girl saying, no, you're never going to win with the prom. I'm too pretty for you. It's kind of what it says. We'll stick you out there. Thank you.
But aren't you still discoverable?
Well, you are. And back then it was different because anybody in the 80s, and we'll go on to when I started Acme, if you ran an ad in Thrasher or Transworld, you were going to sell skateboards. Shops were going to buy some of your boards because there was less brands. So they'd take a chance. They'd put a couple of them with hundreds or thousands of shops around the country. You could still sell a few thousand boards, just like in onesies and twosies, by selling them to distributors. Now it's such a cluster that that's not really possible. But it should have been a better possibility for someone showing there because they were going to be in the market. Right. So I walked by and there's a little company, Blockhead, and I thought it was really cool. The art was, actually backtracking, I had seen Blockhead at a shop in Arizona when I was doing a tour. Because I was always sponsored and never really bought skateboards, I just would want to go down and look at skateboards and go, well, let me see that. What is that? And there was a board called The Meaning of Life. And I go, man, that's really cool. These guys have cool style. And they go, there's some little garage company out of Sacramento. That's all I knew about them. Some skaters did out of Sacramento. So I show up at this show. I walk by this booth, which again, good vibe. Art looked rad. They had these big notch-nosed characters. They did really good with the little tiny booth to make it look cool. And I just walked up to the guy and said, hey, I just want to let you know. And I told him the story. I go, I never even look at skateboards. First skateboard in years just caught my eye. And I just want to tell you, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. It's like, I'm stoked for you. And as I'm literally walking away, he's like, if you're ever looking for somewhere to ride, we could use like a bigger name guy, whatever, because I had been around and already been out there. And it was just really nice the way he said it, and I liked him. And so when the Haro thing, Dave Bergfold, and when the Haro thing, they got bought, and like, all right, well, and it's like, oh, Dave, hey, remember we had that conversation? I go, let's do something. So I went to Blockhead. Omar Hassan was a little kid that little neighborhood protege. I got Omar Hassan on the team, and And we started building Blockhead. I got his wheels made for him because I had started the tracker wheel program. It was called A1 Meats. I had made all those wheels. And so I had all the connections with the wood shops, or not wood shops, I mean the urethane factory. So I got Dave the Wild Things and all that stuff going for him. And that doubled his business right there.
Wow.
Because again, there's so few player, he started selling tens of thousands of wheels.
Whoa.
You know, now you could start a wheel company and you'll sell 1,000. You know,
Right.
it's just a different era.
Yes, grab that. Let's grab a couple of Blockhead boards. Show.
Yeah,
Oh
Blockhead.
Yeah, grab that one.
These are right here.
I ordered boards from Dave.
Oh my
Yeah, a
goodness.
couple days ago.
So Ron
Ordered
Cameron
one.
was the artist who actually later helped me do a lot of stuff at Acme as well, and we're just.
This is,
Blockhead was one of the coolest companies that's
Rick
ever fucking
Howard.
been made.
Oh, this
That's all I'm
one.
saying.
Yeah.
This is Dave's model right here, right? Is it?
Yeah, that was his like kind of the 60-year-old model. He just turned 60.
Whoa.
So
He is
But look how,
Blockhead.
look how sick this
No,
is.
but the cool thing is you took a liking
Show the
to
graphic
graphic
board,
art.
Des.
yeah, and then I met the owner and he was nice.
because a
you
lot of
know,
skaters
and I,
Well, like
don't
this.
really. Well, actually, in the '80s, you guys started caring about.
If you go from when the 80s started historically, as far as I'm concerned, Blockhead's probably, and including my own company Acme, which had its peak and valley, we went way bigger than Blockhead did for a while. But seriously, this is the coolest company there's probably ever been. Because never been anything
So
but
sick.
true core to just skateboarding. They've always supported street skaters, vert skaters, round skaters, pool skaters. Dave Skate's great. You know,
Yeah.
the guys,
Great art.
Laban, or Ron Cameron, who did a lot of the art. They all just love skateboarding.
Right.
It's their primary drive behind it all is their love for skateboarding. Dave's never made a fortune off Blockhead. He made enough. I literally made a deal to have Blockhead licensed through Tracker, and they purchased all his inventory. That's why he was able to buy that house in Bonsall and build the big Blockhead ramp. You know, because he at one point at a young age was given one big check for all that inventory he had built up. You know, but then after that he got royalties and so on and so forth, and you know, was able to keep it going. But and eventually that phased out. Now it's back in his hands. But he does mostly limited editions and stuff like that. Like he's not calling shops all day long trying to get it. He makes limited runs. But everything's done just with passion.
Very authentic
Just done with
skate
passion.
brand.
And no one has ever done that. From Powell, Santa Cruz, the longest standing board. They've lost their way, found their way back, whatever like that. Sold out in different ways. With
Licensing and stuff.
Licensing, doing stupid stuff. You know, I did comic book graphics. They did like stuff I wouldn't have done. You know, Superman, or we're like, I'm like, wow, no, you know, that's way too generic, way too, yeah, just different approach. But this is my vote as the coolest skateboard company of all time.
and they're still
Yeah.
doing drops, and they're still like limited drops, like 50
Yeah.
of these, maybe
25,
100.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they do a lot. They do a lot of stuff where they hand spray paint the boards in the
screen
backyard.
decks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. So
Very nice.
This one behind me, this
crafted.
is the another. This is an OG.
yeah, that's from that's an '80s. I think those are remakes.
That's a famous
Those-
graphic.
Those are remakes. They were.
Oh, okay.
Those were. And the one's
Right.
shaped in a modern shape that I ride, and the other one's the original shape.
Fire.
But yeah, they just came out. The video they came out last year. The average age was 52 in the video.
Wow.
And we had, because
Cool.
I'm 60 something, I did a couple, and there's a kid who's 30, but he took, most of the guys were 50 plus, and they made a full length video of guys, and it was very entertaining, and it was with all 50 plus guys. So I love you guys at Blockhead. So
Sick.
I'll talk shit to
Okay.
your face, not behind your back. You know that.
Hey up. Super cool, man. So when I watch like documentaries and stuff, and they start talking about the '80s, I feel like that's when there was a massive shift in like, oh, graphics do kind of matter. They catch your eye. You can, you know, kind of like formulate a little relationship with them or bond or whatever, you know. And because I'm a collector, that's what got me going. And my earliest memories are graphics.
Do you find that the most collected boards are 80s?
Man, that's a
90s,
good question.
lot
I
of
find
90s
that
decks.
honestly, I find
Once
that,
I hit Popsicle, I lost all interest in collecting.
I find that well, the
So
OGs
early
are
90s. When Sean Cliver shot his pictures for his book, came
Yeah,
to my factory, he even the Acme stuff, he
Skateboard
shot
Bible.
all the stuff that had shapes, and once it hit Popsicle, he goes,
Shout out to Sean
did do
Cliver,
that.
Yeah,
Skateboard
yeah.
Bible.
No, Sean Cliver's books were amazing, and he did reach out and came down. I pulled down all my collection, laid out stuff from Gina stuff to,
Right.
you know, but again, he was sort of became disinterested after like the 95-ish, 96. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of the other brands, the Worlds and all that, had more interest in their 90s boards than
Well, we'll
maybe
get
the
into
ones I
that
had, but-
because your Acme boards, you kind of preserve slick. Because I think it started fading out. Like when I look at early '90s boards, it was like slick top, and then it,
Yeah,
you
we
know,
did
it's-
both. I mean, we
right.
made a lot of slicks because we could make them because we made them in house. Most of those people, like I mean, if you took an average 90s brand girl, so they didn't have a factory that was making slicks. They were making through a factory that couldn't make them. In fact, most factories couldn't make them. Only a few could. Powell could make them. We could make them. So that was a big part of why slick didn't probably, I'd say, catch on more or keep going, or even just the process of sublimation. Like we looked at these were like, these are sublimated graphics where they're sublimated into plastic at like 400 degrees. It vaporizes and it's permanent. Like you could scuff the shit out of this thing and the graphic stays on there. Well, we used to coat wood with white polyester and still sublimate on top of it. So you'd get a vibrant wood deck, but you can get better detail than you could screen printing any day, or even the heat transferring for the most part. But so few people did it. That's why it didn't become the thing. And that's going back to the whole fiberglass thing. So what became common and easy to do, and most brands have access to, is what gets sold to the public as the most desirable. They're not necessarily always choosing what's the most desirable. They're being told what's the most desirable.
Right.
And if you have the right team and the right media effect or whatever like that,
These hold up though. The graphic, like, clean still.
Absolutely. No, I love sublimating. I was always stuck on sublimating.
To answer that question, 80s boards, I mean, that's like, obviously all of the skate history, but 80s boards are
80s to early 90s kind of?
Yeah.
Because the shapes.
They hold value?
Let's say 87 to like 90. Those boards are all grails, all historical, all worth a ton, literally.
Yeah, no, I mean, even I'm a way lesser guy on the totem pole than a Kasoy or a Hawk like that, and when I still see my board sell for $1,000 or more, now it blows me away, like, oh shit,
Only going up. I will say 90s is coming though. 90s is coming.
Good.
Because you asked me that question, I think nostalgia, and through all my content pretty much pertains to nostalgia. So these art and the graphics, that's the quickest trigger for nostalgia.
Yeah, and I think the reason the 80s was ahead of it is because shapes also made you feel like you were getting something unique. Right. And when you start getting
Different
to where you have all popsicle sticks, it just
looks the same.
Does not look. It's just not as exciting anymore.
Yeah, facts. I went down a whole 80s, and that's why these Doug Smiths right here, that's like
Doug Smith
when I got into it, like, damn, 80s are crazy expensive, but they're also crazy shapes and graphics, and that's when a lot of these graphic artists hit the scene. So Blockhead is sick. So many cool graphics.
How were the sales Blockhead days?
I sold more than I ever did on GNS. Where the GNS sold a few hundred boards. The era just was not happening in the early '80s. But by '86, '87, I sold maybe 1,000, sometimes 2,000 Blockhead boards in a month.
Wow.
Of a Jim Gray. That was a good amount. Yeah.
And the other pros?
Probably fairly similar. Sam Cunningham might have done a few more because he was the first Blockhead guy and Sacramento guy, and they were. And then Omar came up and was a younger guy, but.
And what was royalty per deck?
That was one thing. I negotiated a different royalty than other people got because Dave was a young company. I made him pay me $2 a board for the ones that went to stores because he sold them at wholesale, and I made him pay me $1.50, which is what most people were getting paid for their boards for the ones they sold to distributors. So that was probably just a little bit more being like, hey guy, you make a higher margin, I want a cut of that. Now I think a lot of guys may actually get into, I don't know, like a percentage. It might be like they get 4% or 5%. So like, because there's so much now, like Klaus Grabsky's a good friend of mine. It's like, and Santa Cruz will make socks and they'll make T-shirts and they'll make hats, and like it used to all do the deck. I can't even remember most of the time I might have got a small royalty on the shirts, but that used to be a way a lot of companies got away with a lot of things. People didn't get a royalty on a shirt or anything. They just got it on their skateboard.
Speaking of the 80s, you went to the meeting of the Big Five.
I'm one of the only people that ever went to a Big Five meeting.
So let's talk. Who are the Big Five?
Educate me, please.
The Big Five when I went before.
And what brands were they associated? Let's name the names.
Okay.
I know nothing of the Big Five.
The Big Five was Fausto Vitello, who owned
the brand
Thrasher magazine, independent. Well, he didn't own independent trucks. It's always a confusing thing. He manufactured independent trucks for Santa Cruz, but he also co-owned Thrasher magazine with Santa Cruz. He owned Deluxe, what became Deluxe. Back then, there wasn't really Deluxe didn't exist. Fausto Vitello. So he was a Big Five guy. Thrasher magazine was a primary thing. Then there was Larry Balma, who was Tracker Trucks and Transworld magazine. Then there was Brad Dorfman, who was Vision. And then there was George Powell, from Powell. I believe the fifth one, if I remember correctly, was Walt from Gullwing Trucks.
Novak?
Oh no, you're right. There you go. It's Novak, Rich Novak from NHS.
NHS.
So yeah, they were the big five.
Indie
and one time, before I started Acme, I worked for Vision for a short period of time, just trying to help him clean up his mess just before he filed bankruptcy and all that stuff. And it's also where I learned, like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. That's what made me want to start a company, to be honest. But they had a big five meeting, and Brad said, "You go for me." He was, didn't want to go. And I was kind of chastised when I showed up. Like, "We said no one else is allowed to be here, but okay, great, we know you. You can be here."
What was the meeting about?
This is when, this is the most interesting thing. Those guys, well, they all skated a little bit, which was George Powell, Brad Dorfman. They all stood on skateboards, but they weren't skateboarders. The generation that was coming behind them were like me and Tony Magnuson and Paul Schmidt, and we were all skateboarders taking over the industry. Okay, so these guys, when they were the big five, they really didn't skate. They just sponsored us all. But they would have meetings, and the meetings would be about, like, we need a contest in the Midwest. We need to make sure we have a contest in the East Coast. We need to make sure we have a contest in California. They wanted to balance out the stuff so that their riders got around and they got the best promotion across the board. So they actually did a pretty good job of doing what was in the best interest of skateboarding, even though when they went back to their offices, they all competed against each other, stuff like that. And then later, when my generation took over, and I like to say I'm the exception because I believed in the way those guys did things, my generation was like, fuck everybody, money, tech, anything we can get, put your thing, license it out, fuck the retailer. If they used to sell stickers, we'll sell them in the drugstore now. But those are the things that those guys wouldn't do. And honestly, like Larry Balma, who Trucker was like a big company, but not that big. He'd go, "I'll put up the prize money for this event, $50,000." And that was the funny thing about the difference too. For the contest, yeah. Fausto wouldn't put up prize money.
Why?
He didn't feel he had to. No, I'm too cool. I'm cool.
Oh.
So he didn't put up prize money. I don't think Novak did either. Vision did, and Tracker did. And then they were trying to find outside sponsors. This is really interesting. The industry was all it was self-financed, self-focused. They were afraid. I was actually here. I'm the young guy in there and telling these meetings, like, they were afraid of letting Pepsi or Coca-Cola or someone sponsor them and going, "The fuck's wrong with you people? Everyone on earth drinks Coke." Right. I go, guys, the key to this whole thing is you set the rules because you have all the riders. You tell them where it's going to be. You tell them when it's going to be. And if they want to, they can give you $100,000 and they can put their fucking signs around the contest and call it the Coca-Cola.
Why not?
But they were scared to death thinking that Coca-Cola or someone like that was going to start a skateboard company and put them all out of business. And I'm like, you guys are actually pretty stupid if that's what you really think, because Coca-Cola is like a $15 billion company. Right. Your whole industry is like $100 million.
Peanuts.
You think they're going to put all this effort into like taking over skateboarding? No, they want to jump on your back and ride the wave. They want, like, these kids are into skateboarding, let's take it, but they wouldn't do that. So they were all, and then ended up in the end costing them, because the transition to this whole new generation of the Roccos and got me and Schwank and all those guys.
Into the 90s.
These guys were all like, they wouldn't put money up for a contest. Rocco never put money up for a contest, ever. There's no fucking, I'm going to put, maybe at the very end days, but in the beginning, no way was he going to, like, I'll pay for the first place prize. No. So they let the X Games and all that stuff happen. The Do Tour, all that, like, oh, let those guys put all the money for it. And that's always, I thought that was dumb, because when the industry controlled it, they also controlled whether it was 3 events a year, 5 events a year. They did what was best for their industry to keep it selling and keep promoting skateboarding. Once you give it to the X Games, they did what's best for their television rights. And if you're paying to send your rider there, you're not paying them for anything that's good for you. You're paying them at the schedule of the X Games or the schedule, and that's where it's at now. Luckily, we've had the rock stars and the Red Bulls and that come in for, so at least a lot of the guys get around on their dime, not skateboard company dime. Because back in the day when we were selling thousands of boards in a month, Dave could afford to send me to a contest.
Yeah.
But by the time you come to the 90s, most boards would be selling. People were selling. There's so many boards on the market and so many people. They were selling a few hundred boards. These companies couldn't afford to go send those riders all over. They only sent them when they were filming a video, because they got a return for that in the end. They didn't want to send them to random contests, and and that also kind of coincided with video taking over as the primary thing. A lot of guys didn't even do contests anymore. But the X Games and all that, literally, it kind of took over because the industry was too chicken shit to control them. They waited till they came in and took them over, and they no longer had control of them. And I saw it, and I told them that back in the 90s. Like, you guys are blowing it.
So the big 5 dudes did it better. Basically,
I still think the big 5 paid more respect to each other as an industry. How's that? It's like, which meant keeping shops strong, because they had all been
So they
through
protected
the shops
the
came,
core shops.
the core shops, big time, because the shops came, and when skateboarding would waver, the only thing that kept them in business was core shops. Because Big Five Sporting Goods store wants skateboards when skateboard's hot.
They do,
And the
right.
second it tapers a little bit, they discount it, blow it out. And if you're a skateboard manufacturer, that's your only place to sell to, you're fucked.
You can't go back to the core, right?
Yeah.
Once
And
you go
so
mainstream.
they protected the core hardcore. The skaters, as they took over the industry, didn't protect the core at all. They like, I'd be telling them, you're gonna let Tech make your stickers and make a 5-pack and put it in Save On Drugs, and they're like, yeah, we get a royalty check. I got $200,000. I go, yeah, but your skate shop guy used to make $20,000 a year off selling stickers, and that helped pay his rent. I go, you're taking that from the core skate shop, and a lot of those guys, they just didn't care. So unfortunately, the skaters, kind of like the animals took over the farm. When the skaters took over the asylum, they raped skateboarding. And more than the Big Five guys who are all called, they're the big corporate business guys. They actually protected skateboarding as an industry, which included from top to bottom, whether it's Skatepark, a skate shop owner, where they looked at it all. These guys, the guys who took over, were very short-sighted. They thought only about who's their latest team rider, what video they're going to make, how that's going to keep them alive for another year.
So basically, you're talking about brands in the 90s.
Brands in the 90s,
The difference from the 80s to the 90s.
Yeah.
The 80s
Wasn't there a dip, like a dark period?
The late end of the 80s was kind of a dark period. Like I started Acme in 91, and the reason I was able to get like the back cover of Transworld and this and that is because everyone was too hesitant. Business was in the toilet. They were all, the big guys at Powell and Santa Cruz were busy kind of, fixing their nightmares as everything collapsed, because they were like these $30-40 million companies, or 20 million, whatever. And now they're like, they have these big warehouses, lots of overstock, trying to get rid of, and there's all these new little guys biting at their ankles, and all those new guys were afraid that they weren't willing to put their balls on the table, because they were all starting with like tiny amounts of cash. I started in my garage, I took advantage of that and made a deal with Transworld and got their back cover ad.
back
I
cover.
got the contents page, the letters column, and I made deals to make ads. Like there's 2 pages where the letters were written. I go, I'm going to do whatever I want with 1 page. Not like, I can make it go straight across both pages. I can make it go all 4 corners. I could do a game board, and we did like really creative advertising because we made that deal when nobody was willing to, and that paid off big time for us. And then everyone else followed. I used that in later years. I just was like the Pied Piper. Like a magazine would come out, like Strength magazine was out for a few years, and I'll go, they want $5,000 for the back cover. I go, I'll give you $1,000, and if you call these 10 guys, they'll all buy an ad once you tell them Acme took the back cover. So I was like ASR magazine would have a tab page in their issue. There's only like 4 tabs or something like that. I'd get a tab page as a premium ad, and I'd give them like 20 cents on the dollar. I go, because then you can call Paul Schmidt, you can call Perwell, and and once they all know that I did an ad, they'll all pay you $3,000 for a color ad in that magazine. So I always got premium advertising pretty cheap because I ran faster than those guys and stayed in front of them, and took advantage of that stuff.
What gave you that confidence? Did you just see where it's headed, or do you think sitting in on those meetings and being like, hey, are you guys missing? You guys not seeing all this? So then when you had that opportunity, you're like, dude, I'm doubling down.
I guess it's just, I'd say it was my intuition. I could see it. You can't, I knew those premium ads. You get a magazine and you flip the back cover over and your ads on it. That ad's going to be looked at all year round, sitting on that coffee table, sitting on, it's definitely, if that's only twice as much as the ad that's on page 40 that they might forget about, it's definitely worth it. You know what I mean? So, but all those other guys because those other guys were so team driven. And see, I was always team driven, just differently. It's like, because I knew my team guys were going to quit. I knew my team guys were going to grow old and I have to get new ones. I was on the team as a support thing. I love my team. My dream was to watch a kid ride for me till he was 35 and still give him a skateboard now and then see his family on the street. These other guys were like, you're only good for me for whatever video I can get out of you, whatever promotion I can get out of you. So they invested all their money in chasing team riders. I might have had 4 pro team riders and they had 8. They're just like, so I was spending my money advertising. And my team rider got to be on the back cover of Transworld.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And theirs didn't. So whatever. It's all relative. You just take your chances. Those are my gut feelings.
Can we compare 80s and the 90s? Let's say vert skating, 80s, 90s street skating. And what happened to vert skating? And did Steve Rocco kill the vert skating?
I don't know if I'd give him full credit for killing it, but he was definitely certainly a part of it because it was about attitude. It was literally when they would say, no one wants to ride a pool, that's stupid. And again, that's why I rattled their cages, because I was still putting a pool rider on the back cover of Transworld. And those guys literally would call Transworld and say, what the fuck are you letting him put an ad on with a pool guy? That's so not cool. And I'm like, fuck you. And then next month I'd put a guy riding a rail. I don't care. I put skateboarding, it's like,
Right.
So they contributed to it.
Right.
Why did they do it? Well,
Sales,
ultimately,
money,
ultimately they
power.
did it. Ultimately they did it because
Market share.
They were the new guys trying to figure out how they were going to get the shelf space. Powell, Santa Cruz, Vision, these guys had it because they did sponsor all the big vert superstars. They were identified as primarily vert companies, even though they drifted. Powell started sponsoring street guys. Everybody tried, but it was their way to separate themselves. And when the guys they found to ride for them weren't competitive guys because they couldn't compete with Powell's guys, or they couldn't compete with Santa Cruz's guys because they made them on video. So this was about dangling $50 bills to kind of
Video stars,
street kids, and saying like, whoever does the gnarliest trick today gets $50. Okay, so now you step it up, and before you know it, you edit together this video with all these like, oh my god, that's so unreal. Did those guys really skate like that? No, they weren't that good. It looked good when it was all edited, but and that started giving them an edge. And then they made fun, and they made, like the Bones Brigade thing, the way they made fun of it, like, Powell will be making fun of it, make Dear George and doing all these ads like that. They did that because the kids grew up with that, and all those kids that were 12 when they were Bones Brigade members at 14, they were 19 now. They were like angsty kids with girlfriends, kind of half skating, keeping it. They're really cool. There was no new 12-year-olds coming in. So they were able to, now, it's like, I could say like, whatever, say my kid might like Justin Bieber or whatever, and I don't think he did, but say, well, someone like that when they're 12, and then when they're 16, you go, don't you fucking tell me when I listened to Justin Bieber or whatever like that. That was sort of what they were doing with the Bones Brigade. It was like, yeah, you were a little Bones Brigade nerd, so they were able to poke fun at it, and all these kids liked to make fun of what they did when they were 12, and so he grabbed those kids, and those were the only kids. There wasn't a new group. So that's when you have those peaks and valleys. There was just like a demographic peak or a valley of kids not coming in. So they shifted the kids into World at the expense of, at the time, the George Powells, Larry Balma, those guys, they just turned the other cheek like, we're not going to bother our time. Rocco's just a little pissant. And unfortunately, it cost them. They should have immediately sued him like he sued me. Like, I made fun of him and he sued me. Like, it's like...
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's how... So he didn't
Lawsuit.
do things the way he...
Jim Gray versus Steve Rocco.
Yeah.
Damn. Over what?
Well, I made... it was really ironic. I went into a liquor store, Ace Hardware store.
Okay.
And I found some hacky stacks. And on the hacky stacks, it had a Wet Willie character called Wet Willie. And it said, what are wet products? We make products fun. And I noticed it said Lake Forest, California. Okay, well, World Industries had ripped off so much stuff, whether it was Dianetics, Burger King, blah, 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 blah. I figured they ripped off Wet Willie, too. So I happened to I either wrote down or took a picture of where the address of the company was. And one day when I had to go get a die made for some stickers or something like that, it was in Lake Forest. I went by the company and knocked on the door at Wet Products and said, hey, is the owner around here? And they went and got him, and he came up and I said, hey, have you been doing this character for a while? He goes, oh yeah, we've been doing it for like 8 years. Well, my dad's a trademark attorney. We trademarked it. And I'm like, well, have you ever heard of a skateboard company that's using it? And they're like, yeah, we've heard about it. I haven't really got around to it yet, but we will eventually. Because like I said, my dad's a trademark attorney. And so I thought it was really funny, so I went back and I did a cartoon ad, and it was about happy little skateboard kids going into a store and seeing Wet Willie on a hacky sack box. How dare they rip off a law-abiding skateboard company? And I literally, that was the words in it, like, how dare you? They went back to the owner and yelled at him, how dare you rip off a law-abiding skateboard company? And the guy in the end, the ad says like, oh no, sorry, we made that like 8 years ago. And the kids like hung their heads down and left it. And it was sort of like being embarrassed by the truth that your big favorite company was actually a rip-off, a rip-off artist. So I basically called them out for being thieves, and then, but the funny thing is, the reason they sued me is I put these two little characters I made. They're called Igor and Ed. I put them in a zip-up Wet Willie and a zip-up Flame Boy suit, and one said, look, I'm Flamer Boy, and one said, look, I'm Wet Wussy, and they sued me for libel because I slandered their trademark. They claimed trademark on Wet Wussy and Wet Willie and Flame Boy, and they said, in the macho world of skateboarding, it's a slanderous thing calling our characters Wet Wussy and Flamer Boy. So I got served a federal lawsuit with a mockery on the thing on the label said from Do We Cheatham and How. That's what it said. When the FedEx guy delivered it, they wrote like as if the law firm was Do We Cheatham and How. So they even made fun of the whole lawsuit. So and I don't think they expected that I countersued them because they had lured Marty Jimenez from Channel 1 out and basically to take him away from me and then just left him to die on the side doing Channel 1 by his own. So, I mean, I actually had a really good case against them and that went on for a couple of years, but unfortunately during the time of the lawsuit, their reps were always on the phone saying, hey, did you hear Acme's out of business? We keep hearing that, but we can't verify. They were spreading rumors that we were going out of business and we'd call the shop and they'd go, yeah, we're afraid to buy your boards because we keep hearing you're going out of business. And I sold mostly to distributors. So distributors were like saying, yeah, stores are afraid to buy your boards. So I lost like $1 million in about 9 months, so because I had a huge staff. I had like 100 employees and, making boards in multiple warehouses. And but we survived it. We settled for nothing, didn't give them a penny. They didn't give us a penny, And what sucks is about a month after we settled, we found out they just sold their company to, they purchased CCS and sold their company to some Swander Pace Capital company and made a bunch of money. And I could have, Globe Shoes, sold to Globe Shoes after that from them. Okay. But see, if I would have refused to settle the lawsuit, they probably would have had to write me a check for $1 million plus to settle it. Because they ended up having to pay $1 million plus to the guy who owned Wet Willie. He told me, oh yeah, I remember the day they came in, he was all grumpy. It was like, just fucking write him a check. I want to go golfing. It's like, so at least I'm glad I cost them a lot of money.
Gnarly.
But it hurt my business. It hurt my business a lot. I lost a lot of money. And I started my business with $40,000 in my garage. And it was about a $5 million company. And that losing $1 million in a year and our sales dipping to about half that was a hard thing to recover from.
Before we pull the next board, could you touch up on a subject, brand skater relationship in the 80s and in the 90s? For example, like me was skating for GNS. What was the relationship?
Very different.
Owner, skater.
We respected the companies.
80s and 90s.
Yeah, we respected the companies and knew we were part of their marketing arm and valued that we earned our way to that position. But we also always realized there were other people that could have taken our spot. And in the 90s, because the skaters took over and they made the skaters think you're everything. Here's a great example. Alien Workshop, good friend of mine. I made skateboards for them. We would talk on the phone. Chris Carter. We talk on the phone for hours. And one day, out of the blue, we're having this great conversation. He says, all right, I gotta go. Bye. And I'm like, next time I call him, what was that all about? He goes, oh, Mark Appleyard walked in the building. Ooh. You know what I mean? And it was like, that's how,
Drop everything.
Yeah, if Omar Hassan walked in my building, I go, hey, Omar, I'll be right there. And we just keep going. If I walked into Gordon and Smith, you know what I mean? Larry Gordon had shit to do. The salespeople, I'd wave at him. I'd be stoked because I got to go in the warehouse, take free shit. I'm like, it's Christmas every time I come in. What am I going to complain about? But I didn't expect the sales managers and the people like that to dote after me and all that. No, it became like rolling out the red carpet. It was like, oh my God, if you don't freaking get on your knees and freaking, lick his boots when he comes in, he might quit. Because I guess Gordon and Smith didn't fear me quitting. Okay, because they'd survive. They'd get someone else. Yeah. Okay, when you built your company by stealing everyone else's riders and starting a company, someone could steal all your riders and you could be done in a second. And that happened between the Plan Bs and the H Streets and blah blah. It was like, oh shit. So there's a whole different thing. It's because it was all fear based.
It's a whole different mentality.
Whole different mentality. Very fear based. If your team quits, you're out of business. Nobody in the 80s, Madrid, Santa Cruz, Gordon and Smith, like a team rider quits. Okay, good for them. Go move on and we'll move on. But in the 90s, it was just like, oh my God, no, you're family for life until it's like, oh, your knee hurts and you can't ride anymore. Okay, it's been nice. We'll see ya. We have a new kid. Whoa. He's going to be the new video part. So
completely different, relationship.
Definitely different. I think, and
80s
again,
90s.
Much more respectful. The 80s people respected their riders in a different way. The guys like Rocco spoiled their riders. Like, I'm going to get you guys hookers. I'm going to get you guys whatever, get you guys high. I'm going to get you a team house where you can smoke out all day long. I'm going to let you go out and wreck my bicycles and go out on my jet skis, or like that. Like doing irresponsible things for the kids to make them think that's what makes you their hero. Larry Gordon didn't have to be irresponsible to make me think he was a hero. I thought he was a hero because he made this bitchin' brand with good products and a lot of employees. And so, legendary. Incredibly different different mentality. And that would go through all the companies, from Tracker to Powell to whatever. They were all just a whole different level of respect.
Yeah. Interesting, that's right. 80s
Yeah,
and 90s
'cause
completely
I'm just the
different.
end consumer. I'm just the end consumer over here, and then all of a sudden,
And now,
it's like,
now the whole
I'll
idea,
give
like
you-
a pro rider for anybody,
Well,
just is like, welcome to the team. Here's your board. Your
just-
name's on a board. There's thousands of names on a
Let-
board. It means nothing anymore.
Let me give you an example. Like today, I was in the back production, and then Nick Tucker, Keelan Dad, and Jeff DeCesare rolled through, you know. And I was like, I just closed everything. I ran to the front and like, oh, what do you guys need? Like, I'm like, like, you know, what do you guys need? What do you guys want? Like, full service, you know. But it's just, it's like draining.
Well, no, it is.
You leave everything on the side and just like go run like, oh man,
but then okay, but
you know.
is it?
You've
it's
seen
not-
it. You've been, you know.
So
you know
it's
what
not
I'm
the
saying?
skaters' fault, or it's not on them, right?
Little of both.
It's like,
Little of both. Like
Yeah.
I would have, like, say, for instance, I'd have guys in the 90s, you know, and you might say, okay, I'll give you $100 a month to ride Formula One wheels, just as, you know, and then they'd get in a van with Chris Ortiz and go out with 15 guys to film stuff, and then I'll be like, dude, I get $200 a month, and I get, what do you get? And then they come back, I should get $200 a month, and I go, you're not even worth $100 I'm giving you, but now you think you should have two because there's another company. And I would tell him that because that guy's stupid enough to pay his guy $200. Guess what? You might ride for me for 2 years. You'll keep riding for me. He's gonna get thrown off the team in 2 months if he doesn't somehow do some magic to make it worth his $200 because he can't pay for it. You know, and literally I've had riders. I mean, Clyde Singleton rode for me. Does this WKRP thing? Talk shit on me all the time now. So wherever the kid's fucking lucky. I sponsored him off a Polaroid fucking photo. And he tells stories. He says I locked him in my house when he was 17 when he's visiting. I don't know what the fuck's like. I don't have locks on my doors. Like I locked him like a caged animal. I'm just like, some of these kids need to be punched in the fucking mouth. I'm seriously. You know, it's like that's an irritating thing to be an owner and be disrespected from the other side. Like I took you from nothing and I gave you stuff and gave you opportunity and you made it your whole life. Good for you. I'm stoked for you. But don't disrespect the fact that I opened the door for you. I respect Larry Gordon. I respect Larry Balma. They opened doors for me. They did things for me. I don't shit on them. I don't, you know, but unfortunately they were taught, the new generation was taught, oh no, yeah, you're cooler, but you go talk shit on them. You know, it's like, I don't know, it's a tough mentality sometimes, you know, but I don't know, I drifted off on that one. But yeah, there's so many stories like that, you know, it's like, you know, it was tough. It was Acme. I straddled the fence between vert and street when it wasn't cool to sponsor vert guys. I sponsored Chet Childress. Chet Childress carried on into the 2000s as a pretty cool, one of the few tranny guys they liked. Well, a lot of it is because I was putting him on a fucking back cover ad when nobody in the world would have touched him. Nobody would have sponsored Omar Hassan when I did it. Put him as a pool rider on the back cover of Transworld. And I helped these guys become longer term legends and so on and so forth, but don't at all get the respect for it. As soon as they could jump to the cooler brand or the cooler image company, then you know.
But don't you know this going into it? Like, aren't you prepared? Like, don't you see it? Like, okay, this is probably what's going to happen because it's happening everywhere else.
Well, I'm not saying you don't prepare for it, but because I'm not that way, I didn't treat people that way. When I had team riders, you know, like Lincoln Ueda rode for me. Bob Burnquist brought him to me, and Omar had met him in Brazil, and you know, and he couldn't even speak English yet, and Bob Burnquist translated for us and whatever. But and he rode for me for several years. But then when the guys over at Giant Distribution, New Deal, wanted him, they were calling him every single fucking night, offering him like more money. Like, I didn't do that. That's chicken shit stuff. That's like cowardly. And you guys did that shit? Fuck you. I'll never forget it. And that's the thing. You'll know it. And that's why you always get uneasy when you're around me sometimes. You know, there's some of the guys in the industry like, hey, Jim. You know what I mean? Because they know that like, I can call them out on shit and they can't call me out on shit. I didn't do bullshit. They did bullshit. You know, it's like, so, and that's,
you were operating with a consistent level of integrity and respect that you hoped that everyone else would, or at least people.
Yeah,
that
and you know you
working
can't
with
expect it, but
would,
but
you know,
yeah, it's just there's a point when it crosses over into disrespect. You know, I mean, business is business. When someone says business is business, and they step on you, like if you have a shop across the street, says, "Oh, business is business," so I did what I could to crush him. I'd say no, fuck you, beat his ass. Because business is business. You have a family. They have a family. I don't want to shit on someone else's family. I will try to beat someone fairly in business. I'll try to give better service, make good product, do everything I can and be the better thing. But by talking shit about them, undermining them, stealing their employees, stealing their marketing stuff, whatever it is, you know, that's not honorable. There's no honor in that, you know, and that's kind of where I drew the line, you know.
Even to the point where you knew that monetarily it might have.
Of course, because money. I mean, I've had millions of dollars pass through my hands. I've lost it.
Well,
the only thing I have is the fact that I still am me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I gotta give you dap.
Yeah.
Don't miss my dap. Thank you. That's right.
What I was surprised that Steve Rocco, he covered like 50 or 60% of the hard goods market.
Yeah. Yeah.
He almost like crash the big five, and then like with this.
Well, in certain ways he did. He did. I mean,
With the,
Larry
you know,
Balma
street
ended up
coming in. And,
yeah, Larry Balma ended up
it's
filing
just-
bankruptcy when they filed a little battle with him. Like when they ate shit hard. Yeah, I mean, he took Powell
and
down.
George Powell,
Like,
right? He had beef
you know,
with George Powell.
Novak was always more of a gangster at NHS. He later told Rocco, "You fuck." You know, they never fucked with Santa Cruz
Why?
because Novak would have just had him buried in the desert somewhere.
What?
I mean, he was more old school. Don't know if they really go that far. But he'd be the guy's like, you fuck with me, dude. You're gonna have some baseball bats to your head when you walk out one day, you know. And Fausto was a little bit more that way too. He kind of worked with Venture, did some ads with, had Rocco do ads and promote Venture trucks like that. But they also knew, don't cross the line directly at me, or you will get fucked up.
So
you know.
Yeah.
Des, let's think about this for a second. So 80s, we have 5 guys. They do 100 million in sales. They basically control like 90 plus percent of
Right.
the
Yeah.
skateboarding industry. All the skateboards for the whole globe come from California. There's no China, no Mexico manufacturing. Everything is made here.
Yep.
And then this guy out of the garage that barks, Steve Rocco,
Yep.
he crashes everybody, steals the riders,
Yep.
and dominates the sales.
Yeah. And when people could look at
And
that
then
and give him
we talk-
respect,
we
it
talked about
irritates
and
the
then
fuck
he
out of him.
sells on the top.
Yeah, he sells
Yeah.
his company for $50 million. And when people
Right.
talk
And
about him
he-
like he
and
deserves
he
respect,
retired.
it
Yeah.
makes me want to vomit.
We-
Because he's the least respected person in my world of skateboarding. He's not still out skateboarding. You can come still go skateboarding with me because I like skateboarding for
Yeah.
skateboarding.
Yeah.
He at some point wrote it it was for a check. You know, and now God knows what he does. He golfs, he does whatever like that. But you know what? I still have all my friends from 50 years of skateboarding. He has a small group of guys who are like, yeah, Steve paid me some money. You know what I mean? That's about it. You know what I mean? Other than that, it's like, yeah, fuck that guy. You know, so I don't know. You have to choose
It's
who
just
you want to be
wild,
in life.
man. It's
you know?
so wild.
You know, like the Hall of Fame. I was there, happy to be there, seeing lots of friends. Right? He got a Hall of Fame award. He didn't show up.
Oh, he didn't show up?
I don't think he would show up. If he walked by me, like in the Hall of Fame, he'd probably be like, oh, fuck, Jim's going to hit me. You know what I mean? And like, would I? Nah. I might spit in his face or something. You know, I might bitch slap him like a little girl. You know what I mean? But I would never hit him because he's such a twerp. I mean, like, well, seriously, it's like picking a fight with, like, I weigh 230 pounds and he probably weighs 130, you know, and he's tiny. He's like, whatever.
Short guy.
Yeah. You know, so that's not a fight. You know, he would hire someone else to fight. Like he used to have Jesse Martinez would like be his roughneck kind of guy. And even Jesse Martinez wouldn't fuck with me because he likes me and we were skaters. See, we used to actually have real skate respect. So he couldn't be. Even Jesse told me, I told him, Steve, you're a fucking idiot for going after Jim Gray. You know what I mean? But hey, you know, Jesse's not being paid by Steve anymore, so.
There's one thing that you guys kind of somewhat agreed on, though. I feel like introducing these non-pro rider boards that actually sold very well.
Well, let's pull the next board.
Should we do that?
Let's stop it to the next. Yeah. Got some water. Yeah.
Quick break, and then we're
Push-
gonna open
push
this up.
pause.
Hey, we're back. We're about to open this surprise deck. Let's just get right to it.
Surprise number 3 with a zip top.
Yep.
I hear you
Hold that
collect the
up.
tops of zip tops.
He collects. Hold that up. Show them slowly.
Look at his
peel it.
fancy bag. And then we're going to. How was that for real? I don't even know what it is.
Oh.
You people know what it is. Is it good?
Oh, this is one of my grails.
Oh wow, there we
Yes.
go. This is some stuff we were talking about. It's an Acme. It is a sublimated wood board.
Not
Yeah,
slick.
not slick. So it's the same process of graphic, not as vibrant,
What?
kind of like as you know by printing white and not printing white.
Right.
This the white was kind of pale, but there was white on the wood. But then the it's like a white polyester based coating that we put through a UV curing unit with the veneers before we laminated them, but we still sublimated like we did in the slick. So this is like 420 degrees. It's a vaporized ink. It sticks into that. You could scratch the shit out of this, and the
Yes.
graphic's still going to be there. Yeah, the woman looks like a girl you've never actually met in your life. Okay, so which and the more they look like girls that we never actually met in life, the more we sold of them for some reason because
So
I think
rad.
So-
there's so many young boys that love skateboarding. So we sold lots of these kind of sexy comic book characters.
Acme, the rebel brand.
It was a rebel brand.
Who was on the team? Start with that.
Well, my very first team rider was Remy Stratton, and as I told the story earlier, I called Larry Gordon and made sure I wasn't stealing them from him. And then Omar Hassan, and Omar Hassan was a Blockhead kid, and his contract came up, and he said, come ride for Acme. And then Bo Ikeda was a Hawaiian skater, skated for Vision, and those were my first group of pros. And then I had a whole group of amateurs like Chet Childress and Paul Urick, all these guys. I mean, I think the first or second year I had Acme, I had like 7 kids in the top 10 of every like street, mini ramp, vert, and like the NSA finals, all the upcoming amateurs. I had a lot of them. So, we were definitely a rebel brand.
Why Acme? Like, how'd you come up with the name? How'd you come up with the concept?
Sleek
art and
sleek bottoms.
dude.
Well, the name Acme, I mean, honestly, because the dictionary definition of the word Acme is the pinnacle or the peak. It's like the top of the mountain. We actually called our wood shop where we made them Zenith Manufacturing, and the dictionary definition is actually the pinnacle or the peak. So it's like from A to Z, Acme to Zenith. That was but it was also just the whole idea that like what you ever saw from Acme, there was an Acme box company, an Acme grocery store, and Acme was just such a generic name. I wanted it to be whimsical and funny.
Looney Tunes.
So that was what's that?
Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes. Obviously I watched as a kid, but so I looked at the companies like, Amalgamated, like Consolidated was one that would have been in that kind of group. I just started by writing, 200 names and scratching out 175 of them and scratching out 20 and then adding a couple and just came up with Acme and said, no, I like it. It worked for me. And the very first ad I ever did was just like a gibberish story where I used the name of every single skateboard company I could think in the story. Like it was just gibberish, like, an old blockhead, drove down the street in a Spitfire, blah, 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 and ran into it. Well, whatever. and it said in the end, life had become too confusing, and Acme was like making skateboarding simple again. And that was, the goal was really just to make a simple skateboard company, focus on the quality of the boards, good graphics, reliability, in an era when it was all becoming about, turning all your amateurs pro, putting everyone's name on everything, and I didn't make any signature products because I was actually at that point embarrassed to try to put. I wouldn't have been embarrassed to put Omar Son on a board or Remy Stratton, but I didn't want my company to be based on having to
have names on
having
the board.
to have the names on the boards.
You had pro skaters.
I did have pro skaters.
Without the pro
skaters that
models.
were playing. Guys like Omar placing top 10 in contests, and Remy and were well-known guys. I think I did that with Bo Ikeda once, and I remember it said, "You choose, you can't lose." He was riding 4 different boards doing the exact same trick. On the same board. And the idea was like, we're making skateboards you can ride. You don't have to because a lot of guys, there was so much bullshit with guys like, did they ride their model or not ride their model, or had they had custom shapes made with their name on it? They weren't even the ones they sold. And I didn't want to play that game. I just wanted to say, I'm going to make you skateboards you can ride. And I made 33-inch skateboards and 32-inch skateboards and 31-inch skateboards. And I made, we actually, a lot of people don't realize, we're the one, I'll give Ron Cameron the credit, our artist, brought the skateboard market going downward from 10 inches we made the first board that was 9 inches, and people thought we were crazy. It wasn't a 9-inch board. It was called the Strike Funky Thin Ride. It was Ron's idea. Wow. And
this is like an 8.75.
That's these are actually, I believe, that one, that was my production one. These ones were like from a scrap pile of seconds that were recut to like they might barely be 7. So we just loved the art, so we kept the art alive. Right. I just happened to find these in the rafters when I was looking today.
Beautiful.
That was an actual.
This is like 90s wood. Like I've never seen this type of style wood. Like Marko, what you know about that?
There's a little bird's eyeing is what they call it. There's some bird's eyeing going on in there.
It's dipped under pressure, right? That's how you stain the wood.
Yeah, the wood, the whole piles of whole pallets of wood were rolled into a boiling dye. So they're boiled, so they're through and through. I would imagine the Chinese probably do it a little bit quicker, or I don't know if they still boil the whole thing the same way, but it's like yeah.
Even this is nostalgic for me.
Okay. Yeah, you don't see that anymore. This.
Like the speck, like I don't even know.
And that honestly may have been the darker colors, maybe because there was a navy blue board on top of it. And when they press against each other, they bleed. While there's moisture in there, so that could have been added to that as well.
How many countries, you had your product in Acme?
I had distributors in 64 countries. At
64 countries.
Yeah.
There's like 200 plus countries in the world, so
Yeah, I mean,
you
so
were like,
little obscure Canary Islands and little, Philippines and just a lot. We would find someone else in Greece or, and I love that because I do remember once having a conversation with someone who my competitor with giant distribution. He goes, "Yeah, we sold to like 30 countries or something like that," and I was like, "I found 64." And sometimes they weren't big orders. Sometimes they'd be $250, but when some guy in the Canary Islands bought some of your stuff and brought it over, you were stoked. So
at the height of my business, I sold to 33 countries.
it's just still amazing. Just still amazing.
You know,
I don't even know if
that's
even the biggest guys on earth, I would say back then, Powell,
back
Santa
then.
Cruz, they all did because they sold everywhere. It was my generation of guys. I don't think necessarily a lot of them got that far. But I don't know if you could find 60 countries to buy your stuff anymore because it's all coming straight from China. It's all coming out of European distributors, European manufacturers. I mean, there's like...
They all got their own brands.
Yeah, and they have their own brands. Like, so yeah, I doubt there's probably, because most of the people we sold to were distributors. I mean, they may have been small distributors, but they were distributors.
How did this model or stance you took of not rushing to put out pro models, or I don't know, did you guys have any pro models at all?
We made one pro model in the whole history of Acme, and it was after about 10 years we made a Remy Stratton model. I think we made 200, just numbered them, and he signed them, and it was just because he wrote for us for 10 years.
Right.
And that was just.
So what about royalties? How did that work?
I paid them all salary. I just paid them. I'll pay you so much. Gave them whatever an amount was, and just figured it was fair compared to what I know other people were getting them, and it worked. It was tough. It was a tough game because the amateurs in that market would all get offered pro models by somebody else. So as your amateurs getting first place in the NSA finals in mini ramp, someone's going, "We'll give you a model and turn you pro," and I wasn't going to give. I turned him pro and started paying him, but I wasn't going to give him a model. So, and having been a kid who got my own model, I understood the draw. You want your name on something; it looks cool. But from a business standpoint, it was no longer what it started as. And I always knew that. I knew it even when I got my own model. I thought I'm going to take it, but why do they want to put my name on a board? They started with like Dwayne Peters and Steve Olson and guys that were they were really driving sales. They were the guys we were looking for them on the cover of the magazine.
Pros,
a
right?
handful,
Not thousands.
Well,
of
it's
pros,
like go buy basketball shoes. There might be 10 pro signature shoes out there, but that's all. And there's hundreds of pro basketball players. So if skateboards are as if you walked into like Big Five sporting goods store and every single shoe there had someone's name on it, and most of them you never heard of, you'd go, that's kind of ridiculous. That's kind of embarrassing. That's how I looked at it. I looked at it because we competed to become pros. We weren't the pro fairy didn't fly in the room and go, ding, you're pro. No, we literally had to
put in work.
We had to fight against our competitors and place within a reasonable range. You didn't have to win, but you had to really be out there all the time. And I got my pro model on GNS not because they were like hungering to give me a model. It's a guy, Larry Wilson, worked there he wasn't even really a skateboarder. He was more kind of part of the surf thing, but he watched me in a demo and he goes, "Man, the kids liked you as much as they liked like Tony Hawk and stuff that were out there. They responded to you, this and that." And that's why I got a model. It wasn't because my own team guys, Billy Ruff, Neil Blender wrote that, they weren't in there going, make a gym board. You know what I mean? Because they wanted the boards themselves, So I got it because of a third party guy did it, and that was my introduction to take. And you're never going to say no when someone wants to put your name on a board. But by the time I did it, it had gone too far. There was 40 or 50 of us when I got one. By the time I started Acme, I think there was about 200 pros that had boards. And I remember writing stuff to the industry saying, you're going to have 350 or 400 pro models soon if you don't do something about it. I was telling shops, tell them no. When they call and tell you, buy this new board, and you're like, never heard of the kid. I was kind of, that's all I could say. From a marketing standpoint, just say no. You know what I mean? But they were all afraid because maybe he's going to be the next kid. Maybe he's going to be the next kid. And so everybody started buying everything. And actually, that's when shops changed. Yeah. When the owners of the shops used to be the older guys, did all the buying. And then they had to have a kid come in after school because they had no idea who these names were. They couldn't even begin to keep up.
For comparison, in the 80s, how many pros would you say were out there? And let's say today.
Well, I'm going to say there's about...
Just compare the numbers.
Roughly 50 or 60.
In the 80s?
In the 80s, yeah.
What do you guys think today?
I'm going to say...
Dez.
If I had to guess how many names are on skateboards...
Hundreds? Thousands?
I'm going to say pro
thousands.
models, at least 1,000. Yeah. Well, at least 1,000 that actually think they're really pro, that really think they're
Around the
current.
world.
Around the world, there's probably thousands. Yeah.
Thousands?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of shops now. They just sponsor a kid and they give them a board.
Right.
Because they can make 20. And they go, here, look, here's your board.
But
Steve Smith.
And
Like,
the entry
it's
point is easier now. You can just
it
start
is.
your own and build your own audience, put out your own
even like
board. Like, what is a pro?
Even like shop boards. I mean, that whole
You
thing
know.
switched in the 90s to where when I built my factory, I didn't make boards for shops. You know, I made boards for brands. You know, and you had kind of minimums of that. But as the guys took the production to China, they opened all the wood shops up here. The wood shops started making brands, and there was a lot of boards where the shop brand was an American-made board for like half the price of the flip board, or whatever that coming from China, twice as good a quality, and then they would wonder something like Identity Board Shop or something like that. I'd be selling thousands of boards a month to. You know, and then I'd go to these meetings in the industry and they'd be like, man, we can't sell any boards. Like the shop, we're selling all the boards. And I go, well, you made them all the same fucking shape like morons. You know, you make them in China and charge twice as much as they can charge for the American ones like morons. You know, it's like, and you're complaining like why you can't sell any. You know, and you have guys' names on your boards who've never been in a contest. They've been in a couple video parts and that was great when there was only a few video parts out. Now there's hundreds of videos and hundreds of video parts. It's almost impossible to stand out and be the new star. So everything just got watered down and watered down and watered down. And now someone somewhere along the line told me Transworld did a survey and found there was like 4,000 brands of skateboards around the world.
Wow.
You know, that was the number of brands they could somehow track down. I don't know how accurate that was, but it was someone in the industry. But and considering almost every brand has a pro or multiple pros. Well, the greatest example I can use is just from myself being on a team like GNS. You saw me with that poster in here somewhere, like me, Billy Ruff, Neil Blair, Chris. There's 4 guys on a team. We were a small team.
Show it, yeah.
Santa Cruz guys might have had 6. Maybe Powell had 5 or 6. You know, it's like we all had a group of 5 to 10 amateurs, and that was how you built. Some of your amateurs would turn pro. Some of your pros would step off, get out of the way. Well, if you go to the
So let's see who is.
Yeah.
So, Dez, what do you think about this craziness with pros? And you're a collector.
Well, we talked about it during the break a little bit. You guys said like the difference from 80s to 90s was the way that the product was built. You said 80s product was built for...
Oh, yeah. Well, in the 80s, the product was built for skateboarders.
For skateboarders.
Like all kinds of skateboarders. For sidewalk riders, longboarders, pool riders, freestylers made freestyle boards. In the 90s, they just made boards for their team.
Just for the team.
Yeah, if the team wanted 40 millimeter wheels and 7.5-inch boards, that's all they made.
So,
you know, and that's something I did different at Acme. I made 60s still, and I still made a pool board, and I also made popsicle stirrers. And I had guys in the industry actually tell me, I can't believe you make a 57 millimeter wheel. My team would quit. And I told them, then you're a shitty ass fucking manager. Because your team, you should tell your team guy, that's why you're going on that trip across the country, because I sold 5,000 of those 57 millimeter wheels. But they were like, no, my team might quit because that's not cool. Wow. You know, it's like, so it got really all about cool. So the skateboarder on the street became the victim of the skateboard industry and only was offered what the skateboard industry's team told them they could ride. Whereas the original company sold skateboards and you chose what kind of skateboard you wanted and you chose your path. Now you were being spoon-fed and guided and being told what's cool to ride, basically what's available. You don't have anything else. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what the skaters did to skateboarding when the guys who were less skaters actually catered to skaters on the street. Definitely a big change.
Rodney Mullen's Pro Model was not a freestyle board?
Probably not on World or whatever like that. No,
it was a street board.
Yeah, but
they never made a freestyle board
shaped deck
for Rodney on World.
Because, and honestly, what's really weird is, and I've even used that when I did a podcast with him, with Daewon Song.
Yeah.
He's one of the best transition riders in the world.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best street skaters in the world.
Yeah.
One of the best freestylers you call like that. Oh my God. But
so sick.
For most of the time he rode for World Industries and Dwindle, they would never show him riding transition. I'd go to a skate park, and if I took my phone out to videotape him, he'd stop skating. Whoa. Because they didn't want that to be seen. Because they were the street dominating company, and Daewon was known as a street guy, and he was one of the best. But he also would go to like Chino Skate Park, would open 15 years ago, and blow your fucking mind. They should have been showing kids. It's not until they came out with that video, Cheese and Crackers, where him and Haslam decided we're gonna show that like we like invented this. You know what I mean? They didn't. They were just the best, some of the best at it. But they literally came across, and that's the way those guys like to do things. It's only okay to transition into a new direction if we pretend we invented it. Right? So we're going to pretend like mini ramp skating's cool again, so with that, because it's cool because we decided it's cool. No, it was cool 20 years ago. You just for 20 years pretended it didn't exist. So that's truly the way it happened. There's amazing amounts of control those guys were having. And go back to this thing. Okay, that was a pro team. Four guys.
Yeah,
Four guys. Okay,
exactly.
so Powell might have had 5. Santa Cruz might have had 6. Madrid might have been 4. Same. Okay, so that's the 80s. Okay, there was only like 6 or 7 top brands. Okay, so let's take let's use Alien Workshop. He worked at GNS after I was there. He went on and started Alien Workshop. I made boards for them in the 90s. And say they were a comparable size company to where GNS was in the market in like the mid 90s. Okay. They had like 8 pros on Alien Workshop with 3 models each. That's 24. Our whole line for GNS was about 12. So that's about 24 at one time, and they were coming out every 6 months of new ones. Then they had Habitat, which was another brand with like maybe 6 pros. Again, 2 or 3 models each. And then they had Seek, another brand with 4 or 5 guys each, again with 2 or 3 models. So a comparable company, and then you added all their clone boards, generic boards, all those other boards. 10, 12 of those.
Team boards.
Yeah, they probably had 75 boards in their line, and then GNS had 12. You know what I mean? So it's the same size company in the market. With 75 boards. And then so some of these catalogs, I show you my thing. I have some of my Acme, some of my years, I had 70 boards in my line. Because I did Acme, I did Scarecrow, I did Channel 1, Formula 1, there's all these brands I did.
It's like a book.
It's like a book. And so it's impossible.
I'm trying to collect them all.
Yeah,
though.
so when you're trying to collect stuff, like, okay, Lacero, Gons, Jinx, they sold tens of thousands of boards because there was only 40 or 50 guys.
Right.
Then you got to this era, and I was making... And the difference was, too, Lacero sold 15,000 and Old Ghost sold 8,000. They did sell based on graphics and popularity and the writer's name and all that. Then when I'm making boards for Alien Workshop in the 90s, 500, 500, 500, 500, 500, 500, 500.
Per model.
And one guy might get a reorder of 200. But no one was outpacing, anyone by doubles and triples. And on GNS, Neil Blender probably sold 4 times more boards than I ever did. Wow. Maybe 5 times, 10 times, because he was known better. He had his good art style. It's like, it's like...
Point out the skaters.
Oh, okay. Well, so the top corner, that's Chris Miller. I would say he's probably the best skater over 50 on the planet in a pool still. That's Neil Blender, amazing artist and great skateboarder and quirky, funny guy. And then Billy Ruff. And then that's me riding the pipe. So.
Word. That's a sick pipe right there.
Yeah, that's the original Upland Skatepark.
One of the best pipe skaters.
I love it. And I honestly, I won't brag about too much of skateboarding, but I was definitely one of the best pipe skaters.
Let's go.
I liked it.
In the world.
Yeah, for sure. I will not argue that. I think.
Who took that shot? That's
I skated a lot. Like I rode that pipe like 1 hour for every 250 hours Steve Alba did in that, and he was just a little better than me in the pipe. He was better than me, no doubt about it, but a little better.
A little better.
So I'm proud that I could ride like 1/200th of the amount of time in it and still hold my ground. So pipe riding was very much something I was super into.
So
and speed.
And I like going fast.
Right. Okay, so to jump into it though, as a consumer, as someone walks into the skate shop or I guess even sports chalet, wherever, let's say the skate shop, you look at the wall, hey, and then you ask, oh, what brand do you guys recommend? I remember that as a kid walking in and they're like, oh yeah, Flip, that's a good one. Birdhouse, that's a good one. Unless, Birdhouse, Vert. I don't know why we have this weird thing. Birdhouse, big boards. Zero, that's a nice brand. So you're.
Oh, it was funny the stuff I'd hear at the factory.
Okay.
I made this board and I made this Planet Earth board or whatever next to it in the same mold or whatever, and you have a kid go, oh yeah, those Planet Earth boards are great. Acme board sucks. I'm like, no, Acme made it, and it was in the same mold, the same wood, or whatever. That'd be kind of funny. That was like I'd hear stuff like that. That's just the talk on the street.
Right. In retrospect, now, I'm like, wait, hold on. These were all coming from the same place, and you were like, that one's okay, but this one's.
It was what they made you feel. That one was better.
So do you feel like the '90s? That's literally what defined the market. Was just whoever could convince you.
Whoever had the
persuade you,
the media, the video, the whatever, making you think their team's better. That's what, and then they hyped along with that. Like, well, we make better boards, but I mean, or people, they just wanted to be on. You wanted to be on the thing that you related to better. And again, that worked for a while, and then that fizzled out when it became too overwhelming. So when I started Acme, I started going, I can't do this. I'm not going to join that game and play that game and and turn every amateur I find pro.
So 40K, you had 40K, and it started in the garage.
Yeah. And I sold 103,000 the first day,
Huh?
That was I basically
103,000 the first day.
Yeah, that was basically. I took my 40 grand and I bought my wheels, bought my boards, and I reached out to all the distributors, and they all just sent me checks for like 20 grand or whatever like that. I mean, they didn't. That was something I did. I don't know if it's ever been done before. Is they never even saw the product, sight unseen. I sent them anonymous faxes for 3 months, just teasing them every week. Wouldn't it be nice if this? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if your board didn't date itself on your shelf? You know, that's the difference too. New Pro model comes out, the old one's old. You gotta get rid of it. You know, the Acme board. They never gave her CCS catalogs came out, and by the time the end of the catalog, I was selling so much stuff to CCS because all the other brands were out of their product and weren't replenishing them. I kept making this product, and they could keep buying it from me. Wow. So when the kids would go, "What do you have?" We have all the Acme stuff, and they'd sell a lot of Acme stuff at the end. So,
Jim, what were your sales at the height of Acme?
about $5 million.
Yearly sales?
Yeah.
5 million.
Yeah. Not huge. I mean, I'm sure World was going to
That's
buy
a lot.
20 or something. It was plenty.
World
I mean,
is, which was the biggest, was 20.
Yeah, I think somewhere in that. Yeah.
20 million a year. That's like kind of the cap, right, per distribution.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the Powells and Santa Cruz got bigger than that
Bigger?
in the days, maybe 40.
Okay.
And I think World probably got bigger than that in their peak when they peaked out. Before they sold. I think they sold their company for like $50 million. So, but for just a small independent guy with no partners, with his 40 grand, that like I said, I sold the first product sight unseen. I just said, I sent those anonymous faxes when I started dipping into who it was, and I go, here's what you got to buy, and you got to buy 100 of each size wheel, each color, each thing, 50 of each deck, like that. So each guy had about $20,000 buy-in, and they mailed me checks.
Well,
So I turned my 40 grand into 100 grand, which is almost impossible today.
Yeah, smart build up, but then you have these relationships where seems like they trusted you.
Well, they did. Yeah, they wouldn't have done it with just anybody. I had enough. Again, I was the one skater who sat in the Big Five meeting. I was the, maybe a little more reasonable than some of the other skaters, or more businesslike. And so, so that helped. So I turned that 100 grand into $250,000 in sales. So I mean, it was a pretty good start. That would be really hard to do today.
What did you think of the graphic landscape in the 90s when you were starting Acme? I mean, you surveyed, you looked at what was coming out. There were some things, like the Barnyard graphic came out around 1990, I think. World.
It's like double tail, double nose.
Right.
Stuff
like that. Yep.
Yeah.
And then other stuff.
We made a thing called the Double Edge series. One of the first things we made. So we made double-ended boards. I made a small, a medium, a large. I went completely different. I went like surfy and stuff like that. I had like pinstripe boards with stuff because I didn't want to have just another. I mean, we made a board called Your Pro Model, which was again making fun of the industry. It had an X that said sign your name or your favorite pro's name here.
Oh, that's cool.
Basically, we made a mockery. We said if they don't actually compete, why are they a pro? If they sit and smoke a cigarette at the demo, why are they a pro? If they're not really pros, what are they? So if you should have your own pro model. So we made a board, and it was like an upside down little kid with a slingshot with a flame. It was making fun of the things that they'd say you had to have a flame, danger, cartoony. So we did that. But the rest of our graphics were very more 50s, 60s kind of inspired, like signs and stuff like that, like the vibe you'd see at the laundromat or that was I kind of like that 50s, 60s industrial sort of vibe.
I don't even know about. I only know about these.
Yeah, those came about in the 93, 94.
I think this one's 96.
Okay, yeah, well, we did them for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comics, right? You're licensed.
I did. What happened is there's a guy I knew was visiting a friend who having been a pro skater, I rode for all different companies. Gotcha was a big clothing company. Guy who used to work at Gotcha had started a little surf company called World Jungle, and they were in the same parking lot as me. One of his friends had been doing a lot of work with Rob Liefeld, who owned Extreme Studios, and he said, these guys I think their art would look good on skateboards. You should come check it out. And I went and visited him up by Anaheim Stadium at a little place called Extreme Studios, part of Image Comics. And the guy was really cool, Rob Liefeld, who's the guy who came up with Deadpool. He penciled Deadpool. It's like this is his company before he did that. And he was really stoked on the idea. So we didn't pay them huge royalties because they were super stoked to do it. So we just they were stoked to have their art on stuff. They didn't draw the art for us. Like all the stuff Santa Cruz does, I guarantee they produce it for them and draw it to fit. We literally went in there, me and Jinx went in there with cutout shaped things and held them over pages and go, I want the art from page 13, volume, whatever like that. And they'd give us a big cartridge SideQuest disc we'd have to work on. So we adapted stuff to Found. Even though she fits perfectly on a skateboard, she wasn't drawn for that skateboard.
Wow.
We looked and said, she would fit in a good skateboard. Give us that character. So we adapted so it didn't cost them anything to produce them for us. And then for everyone we sold, we gave them royalties. And we sold thousands and thousands of them. So
Were these the first, like, comics, like what do you classify this as? Comic books?
well, when you say real comic book
early
art,
licensing
yeah,
art.
yeah, it was. We definitely were way ahead of that game.
So you paid them royalties. It wasn't
Yeah.
like you bought the art.
No,
You
not
licensed
our
the
art.
and
You
paid them
know,
royalties.
yeah, I couldn't do it again without going back to them and saying, "Hey, you know, I have to find Rod Liefeld. Can we make some of these again?" I've thought about it. Because I still actually have a lot of these transfer sheets, like thousands and thousands of them. So,
I gotta enjoy holding
Any
this one right now. I'm not gonna
Word
lie.
of
but now it's hard to find
Bringing-
people who do who have slick bottom anymore.
Right, exactly.
You know,
Wow.
I have all the transfers to the slicks. I just don't have the actual plastic.
Are you planning on bringing Acme back at all?
Every year I talk about it. I mean, I should do a few models, you know. But then where do I do it? Do I do it and then say, Marko, I want to sell them to your shop? Or do I do them and I put 100 boards online and sell them all? You know, it's like that's the hard thing. Like I watch Blockhead, that works really well. He sells them for pretty premium dollars, but you know now he does make some available for shops, but he's not
Some
sitting
boutique
around.
shops
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
direct to consumer.
And I have a warehouse, so I could store a few. So I should do it. You know,
Okay, but then kind of have to survey. Well, you don't have to, but isn't the industry kind of trending back that way a little bit, where you have because you have the ability to make your own and then your brand and then do smaller batches and then, like you're saying, put more time into your product and be able to speak about it with
Well, I
more
wouldn't do it if I
conviction.
couldn't really be proud of it. That's
Right.
I'm not just gonna like slap my logo on something and
Yes.
say, yeah, it's logo. It's just not that. It's not gonna make you that much, really.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be stoked if I do it, and if I want to do it, I want to do it right. So I will at least make money doing it. You know, what I mean, I don't want to
So
make.
sick.
You know, I don't kid myself by any means that I would suddenly make a shitload of money. I mean, that's just a collab board I did with a friend who I met through the years. Who worked at. We did a lot of art for Volcom. He had a brand in Canada called Art School, and they were big.
Okay.
They were big Blockhead fans, and that he just made a collage board. This is all the things I've been affiliated with. Like Standard
what?
Truck Company I own. Strike was a brand we did. This was part of Formula One. Transworld Snowboarding I sold all the ads for. You know, Temptation Salon is even that was my ex-wife now, but that's her hair salon. I mean, we had it was just Formula One. You know, G&S
Formula
fiber.
One wheels.
I Formula One wheels. I re-released the Fiberflex boards for G&S. Acme had a bunch of logos. So that's just a collage of a
your work.
mishmash of my life's work in a sense. Yeah.
Can we check out some Formula One wheels that you brought?
He's got a goodie
Or
bag full.
Anything else that you'd like to add to this conversation? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we could
about
talk
the
all
whole-
night. I don't
Dude.
care. I mean, I first I was very worried about coming here because you wanted me to bring something. Oh shit! All my stuff is up on pallets and rafters and.
But why did you want to do comics? Like, I'm sure some people thought, oh, that stuff's not like we mentioned it actually earlier today. Like some people didn't want to put.
Well,
this
see, that's
kind of
not
stuff on
Batman.
skateboards.
That's just a beautiful girl. Who doesn't love a beautiful girl, right? You know, we picked characters, and they weren't all beautiful girls. We picked, you know, slaying characters like that. We just picked them if they graphically look good.
Yeah.
If I liked looking at it, I might put it on a skateboard. There are times we showed them boards. There's a couple boards we did that's like, you want that character? Because again, they're a comic book company. They're all driven by what their sales come from,
Yeah.
like who their characters are known as. Like, you know, I don't know if that girl had a name or not. You know, I mean, Youngblood was a different one, or Bad Rock, or like this. You know, this was
Yeah.
Bad Rock. This was a character. Okay, that I did for them because that was one of their big characters. But to me, and the art looked kind of cool. But I didn't go like, I need Batman. I need Batman.
Right.
I need Superman. I need what's
Right.
popular. No, we just want like what looks good.
What looks good,
You know,
not what
and
sells best.
Not what sells best. What looks good because we were selling art. We weren't selling comics.
Yes.
And there probably, you know, might have been maybe a few more collector sales if we focused on characters, but we also probably wouldn't have been with Extreme Studios, Image Comics. We would have been at Marvel and DC
Right.
trying to, and that's the last thing we wanted it to be.
Got it.
So that was truly about art for us, you know, and we picked whatever we could.
Let's check out some wheels.
Yeah.
So
The first wheel I'll show you, which is just a weird one, is the single bearing wheel. Oh.
single bearing wheel.
There's only one bearing.
Wow.
Can you do that again? Could we hear that?
Yeah, well, this one is because it's old. It's been sitting in my office forever. But the thing about this little wheel, I think this is probably 40 millimeters. If you put this on your board and you drop in a mini ramp, and it'll be twice as fast as your 60 millimeter wheels because there's zero friction. You know, it's just spinning on the natural bearing itself. It doesn't have two bearings trying to align themselves,
Right.
trying to spin across the axle. And it was just, I was really close with the guy who made it. It was called Hyper Wheels. He used to pour our wheels. The guy who made it was a good friend of mine, so we always toss ideas around. I mean, we came out with wheels that, remember those T-shirts you used to put your hand on, it would leave a hand print, and they would come back to color. We actually put that powder in wheels once. We had wheels that would they'd be purple, and you'd ride them when they got warm, they turned white. And then you set your board down, come back in an hour, and they were purple again. You know what I mean? We made wheels that smelled like lemons and oranges, and we just did goofy things with wheels all the time. Well, we talked about the idea of a single bearing wheel, and at first they made prototypes where they cast the wheel around the bearing. Okay, and we rode them around. Literally, God, I need to find that video one of these days. Dragging behind the back of our Econoline van, both wheels open, both doors open. Ron Cameron, who was one of our artists with Skater, was sliding sideways, holding onto the bumper of the van until we wore down to the wheels, rubbed through the bearings, and started scratching the truck because we wanted to see that they wouldn't come off. They wouldn't break free. So then we went to production. The engineer. We didn't want to sell the bearing with it because bearings were expensive back then, and people would have thought we were trying to overcharge the shit out of them for the wheels. So we made a little plastic part that went on the end of the truck called the bearing buddy. A little joke about the bearing buddy. Put the bearing buddy on your truck, put the wheel on, then put your bearing, and then tighten it, and it popped it in. So it stretched the urethane and it popped in the middle of it. But when he made the mold in production, he thinned out how much urethane held the bearing in there. So we sold 20,000 of these, and a week later, people are like, "My wheel came off." We're like, "What?" And we're like, "Oh shit!" So we recalled them all, and we just we bought them all back, and then we put a metal hub in the middle and a little C clamp which holds it in place. Which, unfortunately, for the time, it was all basically for street skating, but it rattled a little bit because with a C clamp, you couldn't get it to stay tight all the way. The original ones, you just tightened the nut straight to the bearing. It spun natural, and it was so fucking fast and quiet. But these, so it's just a novelty thing, just something we tried. We didn't think we were going to take over. I've never had a bigger industry interest over anything than I did at the trade show. When people heard we had a single bearing wheel, I had the Faustos. Like, whoa, I don't want for this fucking single bearing wheel. First, because I think they're scared something's going to work that they don't have. But it was a novelty thing. And then we made them, like I said, with metal rings, and that was
Check it out.
a little novelty
Dez,
thing.
show the camera closer.
Yeah, there's. Here's some with the little metal core for one bearing. I think I have. These are the original ones with where it stretched into the beginning.
Super small.
And again, we didn't have any thoughts that we're going to take over skateboarding, whatever. We just
What size is this again? 40?
I guess it's about 40.
40.
Yeah, I should probably go closer to the camera.
Got the zoom action here.
Yeah, this. Yeah.
Wow.
Check this one.
And I guess ultimately we could probably call that a failure because it didn't keep going or whatever. It wasn't a big deal, but it was something we did. It was fun. We took a chance. We didn't throw our weight around we're gonna kick all of your ass. So we're just no, we're gonna do something fun. They still are really rad. I mean, I do have probably 40 sets of those in a box somewhere, brand new. But to talk about how things change, we started in 1991 with 3 wheels.
Do you have the inner bearings for it? Or
That actually has the, not this one, but the ones I have, the packages I have, they have the clips that clip them in, and then you have to put a bearing in it. But and those are the ones that came with a plastic piece that you tighten, it popped in.
This is the C clamp or what?
That's a C clamp.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
because I was this is moving.
Yeah.
So the C clamp actually moves a bit.
No, so I mean, the C clamp was a second, let's just do something just so we could still make a variation of it. But riding on a sidewalk doesn't sound good, too rattly. But again, for a mini ramp, never.
That's right.
Never find anything faster than that.
Tight.
But so when we started in 1991, our first wheels were 55, 57 and a half, and 60. Okay. And then things started trending
Bigger wheels.
downward. They were bigger wheels and started going down to, I think the next thing we made was 52s. And I think these were them. We call them bearing covers. They're by today's standards, they're a pretty big wheel, but we were making fun of. And I think the next step after that, we made 48 millimeter wheels and called them low riders.
did you have a durometer? Were they softer, harder wheels?
Those might have been 97 or 95.
These are 98.
98. Okay. So they were 52, and we called them bearing covers because it was such a joke. 'Cause they were so tiny, we were making fun of them. Then we came out with low riders, and these were 48. So things kept going, and we kept how do we make fun of how small they're getting now? but they kept going. I mean, that's just
Jim, this is now called like conical shape, or they call them like, I guess bones. What like, you know, the bearing is in.
center set. That's a center
Yeah,
set.
center set, but
yeah.
like this shape, it's a wider wheel. I think they call it conical now.
Yeah, I mean,
Like that was
technically
like
a conical
dips-
from the 70s. A
like
conical was
dip-
like,
dip
this is
in.
a radius with, you mean on the
It's
inside?
like yeah, on the
Oh,
inside.
like-
How
okay,
like
they may have
the
called it-
graphic is like goes in. It's not on the outside
Yeah.
of the wheel. It's not like
And,
the classic.
and we
shape
did that
of
to
a wheel.
protect that. You know, the old wheels, like when I remade the PowerFlex wheels, I put the
Like-
engraved letters.
Like this is, you see how the graphic is on the outside?
Yeah, it
and that's
is,
on
yeah.
the inside.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I never called them that, but they, you know, I'm not
That's-
even gonna claim I know the name of everything. Everything was called, you know, just more. I just
wow,
grabbed.
look at these.
I just grabbed random
These are
sets.
small. These are like
Those are probably 45 something like that. We went a lot
Gummy.
smaller than that. We went to 30, 38 or 36 or something. I mean, they kept getting.
No way.
But the thing is, Formula One was a big brand. I sold tens of thousands of wheels a month.
this one?
So I mean, those are some probably original Acme. Those are 50, 57 and a halfs, you know.
Did you get any heat by making bigger wheels when everybody was
Yeah.
marketing?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I had-
smaller wheels. What was?
I think it was Steve Douglas once told me my team would quit if I made a 57 millimeter wheel. And I just said, well, then you're a stupid manager, because my kids know they get to go on tour because I sell 5,000 of those wheels.
Are
of
there
the bigger wheels, so they can go and skate smaller.
Well, I'm
wheels.
just saying, I sold.
Yeah.
So the more I sell, the more money I
Right.
have to be able to afford to do things
Yeah.
for you guys. And if you can't live with the fact that the company you ride for makes something you don't ride, then your company's doing something really wrong. Because when I rode for Gordon and Smith, I didn't ride every board they made. I rode these boards. You know what I mean? Like, there was freestyle guys on the team. I wasn't a freestyler. I didn't ride their freestyle board. But in the 90s, they wouldn't make the freestyle board. Like you said, they
Yeah.
didn't make a Rodney Mullen board because, you know. So there's
Wow.
there's a
That's
maybe a little
crazy.
skinnier. That's a skinnier air. That's a 47.
Are like 40s?
Oh my god, this is so skinny.
It's so skinny. Yeah.
This stuff is not available like today.
No, these are all just from boxes I have.
This is vintage.
Like I can't
Yeah.
skate these. Like
We-
I can't go get a pair. I feel
No.
like I need to feel what.
Well, I mean, like I said, I have about 20 or 30 sets of those in bags that are like, I probably should be selling them to collectors because they're very collectible.
I need to know.
Like these are one I did. Your Channel One was a brand we did for a while. Those were called Super Balls.
Oh, different
where-
colors?
Where we did like a whole bunch of different colors. Like you
That's
bought a
cool.
set of assorted colors.
Super.
And believe me,
Small,
no.
small and wide. Yeah. Oh,
60s,
these are not bigger. These are like
60s. Those are part of the first run. The 50s, the 7s, the 60s. You know. And again, there was no. Well, here you go. Now we're getting
Yeah.
some smaller. Here's some 40.
Wow, look
here's
how-
some 42s.
Wow.
Small fatties.
Yeah. Those ones are very
Mhm.
tiny.
Those ones,
42s.
Those ones look like they would do like
Little
skate
babies.
well.
The shit I could give you if I had more time to go through it. I just opened a box and started randomly taking out.
It's like
Those ones
Yeah.
feel. They look kind of like super.
it's like a ring you can put on.
I mean, so the
They're
variety.
open
It's not a
right
variety. Look how wide those are. Those are only 52, but they're very wide. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you know.
So the wider wheel, yeah, the grippier, right?
yeah.
It's like when
And
you
so
go to the
again,
transition, it's
you
like,
might have had a guy who bought those because he rode mini ramps, and the other
Right.
guy only skates street and he wants the super skinny ones.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of everything.
You had
I'd say
a-
for a good chunk of the 90s, I sold 30, 40,000 wheels a month.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What is?
And we definitely gave Spitfire.
Pat
You guys remember?
printed
The
is-
one. Here's one of the funny things. Spitfire started using the word Formula One after I stopped using it, and then they moved their way up to Formula 4. And I was laughed like, yeah, you fuckers, I could have sued you for that shit. But you know, and I also thought that's chicken shit to take something because you know the brand was kind of already known and established, and then kind of associated it with yours to poach on some of the sales. I mean, it's like, but then again, that's the difference between those guys and me.
So what's pat printed?
Pad printing, it's kind of, it almost looks like a silicone, almost like a breast. It's like it's shaped like a kind of like a boob, and it lifts. The ink goes onto a plate that's etched out. That it's kind of like almost like a squeegee in a sense. Puts ink over it, and it lifts it off that, and then it puts it on the wheel. And you know, and they can be like 4-color process pad print. They're pretty accurate. I know. Here's some of this other stuff I had here. Like, look at that. I told you I talk about a lot of boards. There's
Wow.
There's one catalog with this. This is just boards.
One catalog.
These
Oh.
that's the brands that's the boards I sold in my
For the
line.
trade show.
Yeah, and so if that's what I stocked in my warehouse, Alien Workshop had that many boards, and Foundation had that many boards, and Giant Distribution had that many boards, and that's when these were major brands before there was all these little garage brands. So
Every 6 months, you came out with a new catalog.
roughly, and we didn't
Once
change.
a year?
We didn't change every board like other people did. So we kept boards going for a while, but yeah, we hit every day. This guy, John Chris Falusi, created Ren and Stimpy, you know,
Yeah.
and I did a lot of stuff with him for Formula One. I think he got canceled a few years ago or something.
I've seen this board.
It's like,
This Misfit Scarecrow. I've seen that.
yeah,
one
we
before.
did Misfits boards. They
Slick
were.
also, right?
We did make a slick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that particular one, the Die
Right.
My Darling one. So, yeah, I mean that's and then if you look at the
Really
backside,
cool
there's
line.
t-shirts, t-shirts, sports wheels. Like there's.
What year is this ad from?
I don't know. The
A catalog.
Or
catalog.
catalog. Sorry,
It's a
sorry,
catalog.
sorry.
This
Catalog.
does it say
I'm
on the
just
back
tripping
cover?
because this is blowing my mind right.
This is probably like mid '90s or something, right?
I usually put the date on them. I'm gonna say mid '90s. Yeah.
Mid '90s, yeah.
I gotta check this out right now.
Mid
It's,
to late
it's a
90s.
really big line.
Yeah, you can take.
I'll trade. I'll trade you these
Throw,
wheels.
throw them back in the bag.
Yeah, like for example, Dez, my line would just be one of those pages.
Yeah, and that
Right.
makes
Like this, just
right.
just
And you said you did this to keep up with just the.
Oh, that's what you had to have offer. You wouldn't be able to stay in business. There was just not. There's so much quick changing.
Bro.
So what does it say? Fall 1998.
Wow.
So maybe it was tapering off a little bit. Well, we just did it smaller, but there's still a shit pile of boards.
a lot of boards.
Just a smaller catalog.
I want to place an order.
yeah.
Looking at these, this is. Man, it used to be like this. They don't
Summer
even do the
90,
hard
summer
catalog.
96, 97, 96, 97.
Well-
It's like so.
Jim, this guy wants to order some Acme boards.
Yeah, I know. No, yeah,
For real.
We can make them.
Dude.
And honestly, that's one thing I'll brag
You asked
about.
earlier.
We made the we
Like
made,
this.
we made the coolest ads
He
in
wants to-
skateboarding when we had that deal.
He wants to buy some
I know.
boards from you.
Well,
We'll talk.
I have
Oh my gosh, bro.
See, I was very proud of our ad campaigns because
Yeah.
this was like I said, I made the ad out of 2 pages how I wanted them. We had fun doing it, and even this a zine, probably in 1992. There was
what?
it's called the Spark zine.
You made your own, like, magazine?
Yeah, this is back when we actually had copy machines in your office. This was like a $10,000 copy machine because you could add red color to it. So that's a semi catalog.
So it's not a catalog. It's like a zine. It's more like a
It's like a zine
media
for a kid, yeah.
magazine.
So it's like, but we might ship it out in a box to a shop too, so they'd see it. It shows the product line, I think, on the next page. That's 1992, I think. Yeah.
Don't you think that's missing in like today's world?
Well, yeah, touchable, feelable. I mean, I get so
Yeah.
stoked when I open this
Right.
stuff up, or when you see a VHS.
Wow,
You know,
VHS tape.
VHS tapes. There's a few of those. I mean,
Let's see the name of this video.
that was called
This is-
Acme A Go Go.
So we talked with Jeremy Rogers about how back in the day we made videos like VHS
Yeah.
and DVDs, and we made sales.
Well, we sold them.
Now-
I sold 10,000 copies of those, so that I paid for the equipment. It cost $26,000 for the machine that I edited those on. You could edit it on your phone better now than we could.
And-
And I'm serious, and faster.
Yeah.
Like everything I ever post on it, like it's hundreds of megabytes, and I stitch it together and post it in seconds. That used to take hours and hours.
What do you mean stitch? Like you physically have to.
Well, like
Okay.
Edit.
put piece to piece and fade and all that stuff that you can do it on your phone. It used to take like full editing programs and.
But the program you used was like, I'm sorry, it's like I'm dating now. It's like, it was a computer?
We used a computer. Yeah, I bought like a Dell server for like $10,000. Bought 2 4.5 gigabyte, which is about the largest you could get at the time. AV drives, which meant audio visual. That meant they spun a little faster, so they could keep up with the digital video. So that was $9,000. The video card that could process it was $6,000, and it had 20 megabytes of RAM on it.
Wow.
20. Now if it would have like 30 gigabytes, or you wouldn't even look at it. So that's what we were dealing with. So we could make like 1 minute of video at a time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it would process for hours, and then you would have to do the rest. And the guys who were making my videos for me, they went on to start a TV show called Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yeah.
Kids,
Oh, what?
kids TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were my Acme video editors that made some of these.
So you made money selling DVDs.
Back
and
then, yeah,
VHS
it
tapes.
paid for what we had. You had people on staff, and you had a big computer, and then in the end, at least they were paid for because you sold 10,000 copies of these at $15 or whatever, So,
And all the content now we give it away for free
I know.
on social media.
and you have to accumulate it however you accumulate it. There's not a lot of money to spread around. We used to also pay
difference.
$500 for a photo, and they'd be on your back cover ad.
Right.
Now a guy takes a photo for you, like, can we give you a T-shirt? Because we're
Yeah.
going to put it on an Instagram post, and it's going to be gone in 5 minutes. So, and then the other trade-off of that is that your cell phone is higher definition than his camera was back then, and you can go to the skate park or whatever and get the guy doing a sequence on the curb in the front of the shop, and it's shot as professionally as it is, not necessarily by a professional person, but Yeah, no, times have definitely changed.
Was Acme controversial because you were kind of going against the grain where everyone else is doing the pro models?
Well, it kind of was, yeah, because they couldn't really publicly say anything bad about it because I wasn't doing anything wrong or anything I couldn't immediately slay them back for and say, well, you have 3 pros in your team that aren't even pros. They're just amateurs, and I just say you're embarrassing skateboarding by putting their name on it. So I never got any flack back. Although they tried. It's like when Big Brother magazine tried. Someone called me once and said, I just wanted you to know Rocco's offering a free ad to anyone who's willing to take a shot at Acme. Like if you do an anti-Acme ad, we'll give you a free ad. And a guy called me from up north. He goes, I don't really know you. You seem like a cool guy, but I thought you should know they're offering free ads if they'll do that. And I do remember once Todd Swank, I heard Todd Swank was considering it. Because Swank built a lot of his foundation stuff off playing with Rocco, joking. And it was like, they were like friends joking. But I remember calling Todd once and I go, I heard you were thinking about doing that, and I'm just going to give you a perspective. And I go, so if you were willing to just take a shot at me just for fun because you get a free ad out of it, then if I went up to the trade show and I grabbed your face and I smashed it into the concrete pole, that would be just as fun for me. I go, so just put it in perspective. And I remember him just being like, gosh, Jim, are you threatening me? I go, no, I'm putting into freaking perspective the reality of, like, if you don't respect my sales manager, the people who work for me and all that, and you want to hurt my company because some little tyrant is willing to give you a free ad to fuck with somebody else, it's like letting you do the dirty work for someone else. I go, then why would I care if I hurt you? You know what I mean? It's just like, and those guys were not always, they were like kind of taken back, like, oh, we're not used to playing that way. Steve plays different with us, like, because you're helping him, you're hurting me. Like, I'm sorry, that was a hard thing to take during that whole 90s, kind of beginning 90s era. Guys would hurt you, like stab you in the back and act like you should be okay with it. You'd be like, no, I mean, my stepdad's from Ireland. I'm just going to take you in the alley and beat the fuck out of you. It's like, it's like, you can play it your way, but, I have my own way of dealing with it. So I think I straddled the fence between the old school guys and, because like I said, Novak from Santa Cruz would have done that to Rocco. If he ever fucked with him, he would have literally like, I'll have you beaten, and I would have done it myself. So,
What kind of wave did it send through the industry, like when World sold?
I mean, at that point, it was already like, fuck, whatever, who cares? You know what I mean? Because the brand no longer had its cachet. It was all Wet Willie and Flame Boy. It was no longer really the controversy of team guys. They used that to build the company. Now they were just a big company with all the brands. They walked away so lucky because everything just tanked after that. Actually, I believe Globe Shoes paid $50 million, something like that for them. And then like on their books, like a year later, they wrote the whole purchase off. Like they didn't amortize it over years. They literally wrote it off, like, because they didn't get what they thought they were paying for.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but, Rocco and those guys cashed out. So
They cashed out on the top.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
You don't think there
we
was?
talked about it.
But do you think there was a correlation of them that cashing out and then the bubble bursting?
I don't think they were that smart. No, it was just, that was their top. It wasn't really necessarily the top of the market. The market was still thriving when they sold the company. It just was that they built themselves to that point, so they took advantage of it. And hey, more power to them. They weren't in it for the long term,
Right.
because they didn't have a plan that was made to survive long. It was about hype and marketing.
And then the consumer.
Consumers change. You can't.
Well, we're like, all right, are any more coming out? And then the graphics kind of started.
So I guess a good way to describe I wanted Acme to be a Santa Cruz or a Powell. Just a solid, always going to be there, selling to all those countries, always having stock, selling trucks, wheels, bearings, everything. That was my goal. I don't think those guys were ever that. No, we just want to be the hottest, cool brand. You know what I mean? They didn't want to be Santa Cruz. I wanted to be Santa Cruz. I wanted to print my own T-shirts and make my own skateboards, and and that was never really part of the plan for those other guys.
And Mark McKee, you guys cool?
I mean, we've only met each other a couple times. There's no,
But there's no
bad blood. I don't have any
word,
problems,
word.
on any of those guys. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
like I said, Cliver and McKee, they're all cool guys. I think sometimes they probably scratch their head because I'm still around skateboarding and Rocco's really nowhere to be found. He doesn't, I think he appears in the background with a handful of people, but.
There was a rumor that he was coming back.
No, he did. He took a piece of that sidewalk distribution, but it just shows you how time to change. Didn't do anything. I don't think their sales went up. I don't think they, I mean, what, they scared, like, he's back, oh my God, like, what? So what?
An email was sent out to the shops.
Yeah, a little tyrant came back who could not do any damage to your shop if he tried. You know what I mean? But back then he could, because markets, times shifted, they changed. It was timing, it was not brilliance. It was not. I think Acme grew faster out of the gate than the World did. The World took two or 3 years before they finally, that nail hit the right head. You know, I said I shipped $100,000 the first day.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I did it much differently than them with a different goal. You know, and theirs paid off better, but you know.
It just.
But I'd say I think I'm a happier person. I think. You know, I see more people on the street that smile to me and they're my friends and then invite me to do nice things. Don't just expect me to invite them on their yacht or something. You know, so, or me invite them on my yacht. So.
What do you think about like the skaters that rode Underworld? Because as a consumer, it's like, damn, I didn't know any of this is happening, you know, and I don't know if any corners are being cut or people are being undercut or people are being done dirty. You're just like, sick. I see that board.
I mean, there's things like, you know, like Rodney Mullen is undoubtedly one of the best skateboarders on earth. I still consider him a freestyler because I watched him freestyle. He was turned into what they call a street skater, but he's not a street skater. He's a freestyler who adapted some street stuff to street train. But because he owned part of World Industries, technically he was part of me getting fucked and getting sued and getting all that. So it's hard because I like Rodney and I respect his skateboarding, but it also means he was part of a very evil, devious empire, and he is rich because of it as well, because he owned part of the company and got. So it's, you know, there's a mixed bag there. You know, you don't say bad things about a superstar, but and I can't say anything bad about him, but he's involved in things that hurt what I'd say good people by bad people. But some people would just say, no, he's Rodney, he can't do any wrong. So you gotta just live with that.
Would love to hear his side, or just his perspective, because this is.
I don't even know if he'd even, you know, consider it, because Rocco's the one who did all this shitty stuff. He just he either profited from it or was hurt by it either way, but he didn't deal with that. He just dealt with team guys and making products and stuff like that. But the reality is, his company that he owned part of sued me, and you know, and kind of, you know, fucked my whole life up and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, because
I made a documentary on World Industries, like the rise and fall, a couple years ago, and like some of the business practices or like how they would decide on what to do was as simple as like, all right, let's just flip this coin and seriously, like we're gonna flip this coin, and if it's heads, then we're gonna do this, and then if it's tails,
this
straight up
decision,
straight up.
You know, I mean,
decisions.
you could take it to such levels. Like I literally could say, if my kid was walking down the street and saw Rodney Mullen and thought, my life would have been better if they didn't fuck him up. I'm gonna beat the shit out of him right now. I would be like, wow, that surprised me, Hunter, that you thought that way. But then again, I guess it doesn't really surprise me. So all I know is I don't have anybody or anybody's kid who I would ever worry about thinking like, that kid might just come fuck me up right now because his life could. So to guys like that who actually threw people's whole lives out, I had to sell real estate, had to, you know, I lost $1 million in a year, you know, like, and I wasn't a millionaire. I started with 40 grand. That was my 40 grand, the equity for my house that I had bought. Like, so, you know, they cost me a lot. They cost me most of probably the assets that I would have, you know. So in the real world, that's the kind of shit people get hurt over. You know what I mean? And deserve to be hurt over. And so they could sleep at night all they want. But all I know is, I tell you, whenever any of those guys walks near me, there's a nervousness in their whole demeanor. You know, from Frank Messman, the first time he saw me, because he actually worked for them at the time, and his name was on the lawsuit. You know, and first time he saw me, he said, "Hey, Joe," you know, like, yeah. Now, I mean, I've been up them; they're fine with it. But the reality is, you know, at any time, if I just had a wild hair and decided to backhand them, you know, they'd have it coming. You know, I mean, I just didn't laugh at them and go, "Dude, that's 20 years overdue." So, you know, I wouldn't like to have that karma following me. How's that?
So you had to finance a mill, like
I lost it. I was upside down on the IRS, piles of money, debtors. I did a kind of an out of court bankruptcy. I didn't file bankruptcy, but I got all my creditors together. And the last 3 years I operated my wood shop, Alien Workshop bought all my wood for me and shipped it to me because I lost all my credit with all my vendors. And so I had to settle. I had to make settlements with them to pay them back, and I had no more creditors. I would have been out of business, but Alien Workshop stepped in and bought my wood and delivered it to me, and I paid him and finished skateboards. And
could you touch on that though? So like, people at home might hear, oh, but you did 5 million in sales, or then that was a good year. Maybe another year you did 3 million. So talk about, and you kind of said like how that money gets funneled back in.
Oh yeah,
But
I never made
maybe-
any more money from making 1 million sales to $5 million sales. I never made any more money because if I might have. It's a paper game. You have a corporation and you have yourself, and you go, okay, you pay yourself a bunch, and then you loan it all back to the company. So when the company shut down, it owed me like $400,000, which I'll never see. You know what I mean? So it's money that went through my name, paid taxes on, did whatever, and then it's a stockholder loan. And what a stockholder get in the end, you can only write off $400,000 if you have something, a gain to write it off against. So you just basically walk away and you leave it. So no, it's not. On a small scale, when you start at the 40 grand, turn into 100, turn the 100 into 200. You're paying taxes corporately, personally, stockholder loans. You're juggling money back and forth, bank loans. I literally probably made about the same just every year, no matter whether I did $100,000 $1 million or $5 million.
Right.
Because you're always growing, buying more inventory or.
Yeah.
But then once you slip it, it's a lot harder to build up $1 million in inventory than it is to watch it go out the door. So, so when we lost $1 million, it was mostly, you're selling product, you're not replenishing it, so your inventory is just shrinking, and you live off your receivables, and you find yourself in a bad spot. But then again, I'm happy I didn't have cutthroat partners.
Right. You can look yourself in the mirror and be like.
And I did pay back people like. I had people file bankruptcy on me that I got like a penny, or a dime at most, like that, and I made deals and paid most of those people back like 50 cents, 60 cents on the dollar on their hundreds of $1,000s for their wood and stuff like that. Which if I would have filed bankruptcy, they would have got 10 cents on the dollar, and I might have gotten forced out of business. So I took a choice to keep in business,
right,
and find a way to settle rather than file bankruptcy.
When did you stop doing or how long did you do the back page ad on the magazine?
About
Transworld.
Transworld.
5 or 6 years.
Oh wow!
And even that was gnarly. It was basically, it was a completely illegal act of collusion between World Industries Foundation and Birdhouse that got me kicked off the back cover ad. They threatened to stop paying them if they didn't kick me off the ad, which is very illegal. But so I was removed from the back cover of ad because of a meeting that those guys had with Transworld.
Did you discover this after the fact?
Not too long after, but that means like I had too many other problems to deal with, shit like that. But yeah, well, all the guys were lucky I didn't have a bunch of cash laying around because I could have taken them to court for that because, those are kind of not very fair business practices when you collude with other people to fuck another business. So
This seems hectic. like
I don't know. It's not like skateboarding.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I love skateboarding more than all those guys. I still go skateboarding. I skateboard when I want, where I want, how I want, because skateboarding is fun.
Right.
That's, if you want to make anything from this, the biggest thing about all of this shit, business happens. But the bottom line is I'm a skateboarder because I like riding on a skateboard. I like rolling. I like the feeling of movement. To me, skateboarding isn't about tricks. It's about motion. I like to go fast. I like to move. And if a trick comes along the way, that's cool. But if I stopped to do tricks, I would shoot myself. You know what I mean? I cannot skate that way where I'm just going to do a trick and do a trick. Again, generationally, partially just the way I am. I don't think I could do it, but skateboarding's fun.
Right.
So I'm still out here having fun.
Yeah.
So then the other guys might have multi-million-dollar houses, living life, going on good vacations, but then they probably wake up like bored, like, what am I doing? What can I do? There's an emptiness. There's an emptiness, and that's fine if they're happy. If they're happy that I love skateboarding. I love the skateboard. I love that I'm still sitting in a skate shop late at night talking to a bunch of skateboarders who've been skateboarding their whole life. A guy I made his boards 30 years ago and he's still making his boards 30 years later. That's fucking bitching. Right. It's like you can't buy that. Money cannot buy that. We could have fancier cars, but big fucking deal. I've had nice cars. I've had junker cars. Like. Doesn't make me any worse of a person.
I'm so hyped. I'm only like 4 or 5 years in the game, like of collecting heavily, but I'm just hyped to.
3,500 boards. That's insane.
I have a basketball background, so I used to play basketball in like Philippines, Mexico. Okay. I love skateboarding though, so I used to pull up to practice on my board, and to where the coaches were like, "Hey, if you're doing that again, like you might be off the team."
Side story is what's his name? Philippine boxer.
Manny Pacquiao.
He built a lot of skate parks.
Oh yeah, dude.
He donated to build skate parks in the Philippines. I always thought that was so cool.
Philippines loves skateboarding. Yeah. I mean, we just had Kevin Romar.
They went to Philippines with the team. Supra.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Thousands of people chasing them around. He said it was like a rock star.
That's crazy.
Like riots.
Yeah. Like Nar. But So for me to be here also, and like the wall, looking at the wall with boards, that's my first.
Passion is what drives skateboarding.
Yes.
You know, when someone sees it, whether it's Manny deciding to build skate parks because he sees kids past it, Jeff, a man from Pearl Jam, has built dozens of parks in Montana because he's been fortunate in other things, but he loves skateboarding. He's passionate about skateboarding, giving skateboarding back to kids. That's so rad. You know, I mean, I've worked with some groups that teach like autistic kids how to skate, stuff like that. It's so rad how much love skateboarding gives back to people who decide to partake in it, you know. So, and I'm stoked to the people who do that and give of themselves to to take care of that. That's awesome.
Word.
Much respect.
Any other questions about Acme
Man.
before we move on?
Now I know why they've never had me on the 9 Club. they always have like, what do they have like who can do the longest thing? I'm not trying to make this the longest podcast you've ever done.
NorCal, SoCal. Thrasher, skate and destroy. Transworld, skate and create. The
Very different
difference-
mentality.
yeah.
Very different mentality.
80s and then the 90s, if you can touch on a topic, editorial versus advertorial.
Plus
Very-
Big Brother.
very
though.
much.
Big
And
Brother
Big
as well.
Brother
right?
was like Steve Rocco's thing, but smaller. But those two magazines basically controlled.
Yeah.
They owned the skate.
Well, going
brands.
back to where I started and saying that Santa Cruz
So-
made the boards, Trekker made the trucks. That blew up between them. They had a falling out. They started Thrasher and Indie, and they had their vibe going. They had Skateboarder magazine down here. They faded out. You know, so now Thrasher's kind of the only game in town. Transworld was literally started as a reaction to, oh holy shit! Like, what are we going to do if we don't do something where we can actually show skateboarders stuff that we can stomach, and the stuff that they couldn't, you know, it was almost like, okay, Thrasher was the Hells Angels, and you know, and these guys were just the high school football team. You know, I mean, they were just, the Thrashers were just nice guys. They were normal people. They weren't weird. They weren't goody two shoes like Thrasher tried to make them be, but they were also like, this is dumb. We don't want skateboarders like pictures of skateboarders pissing off buildings and throwing up and what. That's not sexy. That's not like, we want skateboarding. So and they had a brand, and you're right. So they're Thrasher has never made it like secret, except they don't publish it. But as far as within the industry, team writers, you ride for our brands, you're going to get in Thrasher. Okay, right? And they own half the brands that are in their magazine.
Yeah.
They own Deluxe Distribution, and they own NHS. Those two own Thrasher magazine together. So that magazine exists as a catalog for those brands. Okay, so if you get in there as a player who's not maybe on one of their board brands, you're definitely on their truck brand or their wheel brand. That's why Spitfire, OJ are the biggest wheel brands. Thunder, Venture, Indy, they control all those brands, and then you've got all their board brands. So if you're not part of their inside thing, yeah, you might get a photo somewhere, a little thing, but you're definitely you're not going on the tours, you're not going to be in the videos, you're not going to be all that. So there's a real unfair advantage there. So Tracker and Indy battle had already started over this, who was going to sell the trucks, and so Tracker starts. You know, starts Transworld Skateboard magazine.
Larry Balma.
Larry Balma and Peggy Cousins was his partner, the lady who worked at Tracker.
And Thrasher was
Thrasher was Fausto Vitello and Richard Novak from NHS. So Larry and Louise they just wanted it to be more of a clean cut thing, and because of that, like for instance, I wrote for Tracker. It was hard to get in Transworld as a Tracker writer because they didn't want to ever appear to be like Thrasher, putting their own writers in. And sometimes Tracker did a lot of ads in Transworld. I think once they did 10 ads or something like that, but they paid for them all. You know what I mean? You know, so it wasn't like just freebie, you know, thing. You're like, no, they paid for it to finance the magazine. And so that was a challenge. And then in 1986, I became partners with Larry Balma. We started a company called Brainstorm Designs. I sold all the ads for Transworld Skateboarding, and I launched the Tracker Wheel program, A1 Meets. I also launched Transworld Snowboard magazine a couple of years later. I was a 23-year-old kid flying to Vegas to sell the snowboard magazine to the guys. It was kind of funny. Larry didn't even go. I went by myself. I always thought that was funny when I go back in hindsight. But their whole thing was really about they wanted to cover skateboarding the way it was. And when you talk about the advertorial versus editorial, it flows into that. Because when I worked at Transworld from 86 till about 90-ish before I started Acme, like if I went into Grant Britton's office and said, hey, you know, these guys are really good advertisers. You know, you should show some of their writers in here. He would have said, get the fuck out of my office. We cover who is the raddest skateboarder. We'll call you and tell you if we're going to have a session, we want you to come skateboard like that. Don't fucking call us. Okay. By
editorial.
editorial. By the mid 90s, if you walk through there, team manager for Zero was going out to lunch with the photo director. They were going to run a 20-page article that said Zero Tour across America with a Zero logo on each thing and so on and so forth. And it became complete advertorial. And that would be where they would literally, guys like Jamie Thomas would say, if you put a longboarder on the cover, I'll pull my ads out. You know what I mean?
Check
So
that
they,
out there.
so they, they
Control
control
over the content.
So, absolutely.
By the advertisers.
Absolutely.
By the couple of, or a handful
Absolutely.
of
A lot of them didn't like that Acme.
Think
You know,
about
for those
that.
years, I put pool riders on the back cover. Like that was so not cool because Trent was supposed to only have guys going down rails and
Right.
riding ledges and all that. And again, I made a deal when times were rough and got all this premium ad spot, but those guys didn't like it.
It's a heavy topic.
I fell
It's
for
a
the
heavy
Kool. I
topic.
fell for the Kool-Aid, man, because
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
my cousin's like, I don't.
Hmm.
That's why the birdhouse thing was like, that's like vert.
Yeah.
And it's like-
No, that was the kind of word too. So that's like vert. There's some kids in a contest in Costa Mesa years ago. They were upset because we were taking the skate park over on a Friday night because we had this league going. 40 schools between San Diego and LA. We had this National Scholastic Skateboard League, and we did contests. And one night we're having a contest, and the kid's like, "You're pissed off because they can't ride the street course." I go, "Why don't you just ride the bowl?" He goes, "I don't do vert." And I'm like, "Wow, okay." I go, "We used to just call that skateboarding." I go, "You know what that means? It means you're scared to ride there." That's why I just made fun of him. Like, just like there's nobody there, carve around. Like it's like, but it was just the attitude.
Yeah.
It oozed of that. Like that's where it started with the whole Rocco thing and how they went down the crew. It was all like, "Dude, I'm a street skater, bro. I don't ride vert." Like, well, first thing you know what vert is. Vert's like a big like ramp, like a 2-foot thing that with transition. You call it any transition vert. I go, I mean, you're the ignorant idiot when you
Brainwashing.
Right. It's all like, damn, man.
Now
they got
it was
me.
It was being spoon fed, you know. So and it started with the new world, the Roccos, whatever like that, because they were trying to make vert uncool. Because again, that was the image most associated with Vision, Powell, and Santa Cruz, and they wanted to become we're the street guys, we're cool, and
But that touches on the whole helmet and no helmet.
it's all kind of ties together. You can't be seen with a helmet 'cause that's not cool.
Yeah.
That's why I love Andy Anderson. You can't tell me how much I loved when Andy
Me too.
Anderson
Love
started
him.
coming
I
up
love
because
the guy.
he decided I always wear a helmet. And it's his own personal choice.
Sick
And
as
any fucking street skater on earth that wants to say he's not cool, he's a better skater than you.
Yeah.
I almost know no street skaters that I would say are a better skater than Andy
Super
Anderson.
nice
Because
guy.
as an overall skateboarder, he'll drop in a pool as good as any pool skater. He'll freaking do freestyle like Rodney Mullen, and then he'll freaking, he'll do a 360 on the top of the rail after he's done, kick flipping up it or whatever. So you can't call him out.
No,
But believe
can't.
me, the first year or so he was out there were lots of whispers. Stupid fucking helmet, but yeah, now you can't do it. And I love that. I love that a lot.
Shout out to Andy Anderson.
Yeah, Andy, you're the man. And Andy's the nicest.
The nicest.
Oh, yeah.
If I see him,
Yeah.
nothing but love. Respects
Real.
the culture where he came from. Super good person. Great for skateboarding. And that was good for Powell. And from what I understand, for a long time, that's been their best-selling board, and it's not a popsicle shape, and they put it out and sell piles of those things. So that alone, another thing that proved to me the hype of what's cool and not what's cool. Once there was one of those things they called Real Street or something like that, a contest, and there was all the really top cool street skaters and Mike Vallely, and Mike Vallely started wearing a helmet too, and Mike Vallely was doing old school boneless tricks and all that in his part, and whatever he was rated 5-1 over the next closest true street guy, because he was ripping and they were giving him respect, and you can't fake that. So the bummer about the whole I edited this till it's really cool. I have a little chip on my shoulder against skate video because if I see someone's skate video, I don't think that's how they skate. I don't believe it. I only believe
500
because I come from a generation where you watched the top pro skateboarders. You saw them go one after another. I knew how Gon skated, Nada skated, Tommy Guerrero skated, Eric Dressen skated. I watched them go one after another. Saw their style, their skill, their approach, their consistency. We knew who the best skaters are. When you look at a video, you do not know who the best skater is. You can say you do, but no, he did put together the best part.
Yeah.
But because he was natural, maybe not. Maybe because he was crazy and he did everything 100 tries, and he's not going to walk after he's 30.
Tries.
But and then one guy, you're not going to say his parts is good, but he filmed it in a fucking week because he's so fucking good.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like he's so consistent.
Yeah.
So and that's the hard thing is
You
with
can't tell in the video.
with a non-competitive
You can't
based thing, you really can't say who's the best skater.
Can we give some flowers to he was a competition skater. Steve Stedham.
Stedham was a solid dude. He earned his place.
Right.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, he probably snaked too much, and that probably hurt his image because people get irritated. Tony Magnuson snaked a lot. Steve Alba snakes a lot. There's a few people who maybe didn't get elevated where they could have been in skateboarding because they rubbed some people the wrong way by snaking too much.
Can you, for our viewers at home who don't know what snaking is?
Snaking means going when it's not your turn, and that actually isn't even. No one cares really about that. It's when you do it in an uncool way. How's that? In like, I'm going to snake you to be a dick because I can. You know, and I'm kind of, they used to call me Gentleman Jim Gray, which is kind of funny because, you know, I am a gentleman, I'm not a gentleman, whatever. But because I don't get off on snaking people. You know, I mean, I've had to go to guys like, if you do that one more time, I'm going to go the other way and you're going to just get... I have dropped in run over guys because I go, okay, I'll just show you. Mm-hmm. I'm bigger, I'm faster, and I don't like you fucking my ride up. I like taking off focused on where I'm going, and when I have to where you're gonna push my shoulder and sneak in on me. Like, there's guys that do that. You'd be like at the bowl and like, it's like, oh man, dude. Because, you know, there's a big brotherhood, but there are definitely times when I just wanted to drop some dudes on the spot. You know, it's like that's you know, and over the years you look back and you laugh, you get over it, but still, no, it irritates you. And I don't ever want to be someone who irritates. Oh, Jim's a session just ruiner, you know. And there are some guys, they show up and people are like, oh fuck, it's like the session's ruined because they're gonna just snake everybody. You know, so.
Wow.
Before we move on, next topic.
Move on, Jesus, we are gonna be here till 4 a.m.
Would you like to say anything about Jake Phelps? Rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Phelps, I was not a fan of Jake Phelps. He's a guy that I definitely had to not punch in the face several times because he would walk by me and mutter like faggot or under his breath or something like that. I'm like, dude, whatever, say it to my face. He was a very smart guy, very passionate about skateboarding. Clearly, he had his addictions. He used the power of the pen to wield power. I don't get off on having power over people. I think he did. I would never, you know, like I said, when he died or whatever, I was just silent. I didn't say anything. I wouldn't rip a new one. But to me, he's not a god of skateboarding. He's just someone who passed through skateboarding. He did his time. Some people are going to respect him because he gave a lot to them and gave a lot to what they consider the Bible of skateboarding. I don't consider it the Bible of skateboarding. I know it's a catalog for a couple brands, you know. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't a fan, you know, but I understand why people were. So if you're a fan of Jake Phelps, rest in peace. I'm sure you missed the guy. Yeah, he never did anything for me. So.
All right, next topic.
Okay.
Skateboard park design.
Oh man.
So
if you even know today, it's on my agenda today. Yeah. It blew up today.
I mean, in simple terms, what do you think like a good skate park would look like?
A good skate park should have something that a little kid can ride that won't get in everyone else's way. It should have something that every average skateboarder can have fun on. And then depending on how big you can get. If you can go big, I'd build a gnarly as shit bowl, a medium bowl, a baby bowl. If you only get one, build one everyone can ride. Don't build a park that only 2% of the guys can ride. And a lot of those get built that way. Like
handrails only, for example.
Like what?
Like
handrails only.
Handrails only.
If you did handrails only, it's dumb.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just don't. I mean, and then you go there and you want to. It's not really getting ridden. Only a handful of kids can ride it. Or you go to like Peck Park, San Pedro. They built a pool that's like it's like a backyard pool. That's fine. That's not what I want at a skate park. I want a backyard and I crawl over a fence and ride a backyard pool. When I go to a skate park, I want buttery smooth and lines that I could ride. Not like, oh, oops, I screwed up. Pile drive, I'm done. You know, that's just my personal choice. And again, if you could build multiple, you know, and like I tend to like pools more. If you built, you know, if you had enough budget to build two, you build a gnarly one, you build a mellow one. But if you can only do one, you gotta build it so everyone can ride it. You know, I think skate park designs. What's happened is from the first private skate parks to the public skate parks, things got lost in translation. Okay, times changed. The first public skate parks were opened with financial incentive. You build a park, spend $500,000. You got to charge people $5 for 2 hours. They have to enjoy it, and everyone has to get a ride, because if they don't come back, we're out of business. So that was mostly built in runs, snake run, starting point, this run, so that people could line up and go in runs. It was a little more like a ski resort, a little less. I wouldn't want to build it that way, but as the public skate parks came into fold, you had these guys like up, and a lot of them started up in Oregon and Washington. So those guys dreamed of what we had here in the skate parks, and they told me, I met all those guys. They told me we were just building our fantasies. Again, they're building it for themselves. They weren't building it for the public. So there's a translation. So there's a lot of stuff crisscrosses, a lot of collision courses. Imagine if you were charging people. Would you want 80% of your people to not have fun when they come? No.
Doesn't make sense.
You want them
to go out of business.
Yeah. So the mentality of what a city wants, the city wants the most users to be able to use it recreationally, have fun, and come back and to be safe. That's really all they're looking for. The skaters are looking at I want my fantasy, I want my biggest reel, I want my gnarliest bowl, I want, and it often doesn't work. Like what will work in Montana won't work in California. You have 50 kids at the skate park here, and you have 5 kids at the skate park there. Like all those evergreen parks up there are so bitchin'. I've ridden some that have been built here privately, so they're so bitchin'. They would not work here. You can't build a park where every single part of the park runs into everybody else with blind corners coming from. That's literally, if you have a park that needs a capacity of 50 kids to be there, and it can only handle 3, you did something wrong in the design. That would be my general. We designed the Costa Mesa Park like 20 years ago. All the street courses are linear. Kids go up the Euro Gap. Kids jump off this way. There's a small bowl over here, a big bowl over here. Things are kind of separate. I would point out every imperfection too, but any day 40 kids can be there and they're all skating. And if you went to Etnies, Volcom's 15,000 square feet.
Lake Forest?
Etnies in Lake Forest. It's now, they've even added onto it. It's probably like 75, 80,000 square feet, maybe 90.
It's
less people can functionally skate there than can skate our 15,000 square foot park.
Bad design, bad flow.
Bad flow. Not thought of. Okay, so Costa Mesa is about to double the size of its park, and we fought to get the things we thought it needed, but then we have the whole game of bidders. Like Spawn Ranch has the contract right now, and they are doing what we want: a snake run, a pump track, another street course, and a pool. But they made a whole bunch of really bad layout things like that, and they don't want to fix it. And we're having to force them. I'm probably going to have to show up at city council meetings, might have to call newspapers, do all that stuff. That just pisses me off, because they had free consultants, people who have so much passion for it, who've been to skate parks for 50 years and have a very functional skate park now, because they let us last time really make sure everything flowed right and all that. And now they're like, well, we know better. We're cooler. We're going to, and the city's like, well, they're the professionals. And so, we have county supervisors having to call city people. It's just but you also grow up. I know the county supervisor. She's the one who gave the city the money for the thing. So now you have more access to pushing those buttons easier. But still, the fact that here we are 25, 30 years later on public skate parks, and 90% of them are designed poor. Very, very poor.
That's sad.
I agree. I'm a big critic, and not of the passion that people are doing to build it. A lot of people really want to build good parks. They just don't think it through.
What's your thought on pump tracks?
I think as the only skate park for a city, no, that's taking away from everybody. But as far as
there's one in Inglewood.
Yeah, no, I know.
Pump tracks.
Linwood, there's a new one in Linwood, which is good, but it's super gnarly. But it's built by Grindline. Grindline builds gnarly stuff. Grindline usually builds stuff that'll hurt you. And I know they got mad at me. I had guys at Grindline were going to talk shit about me behind my back with that because I'm honest. They build pools with kinks and walls and fucked up tranny and stuff like that because it's great for them. 25 to 30-year-old gnarly.
For them to ride.
Gnarly guy. They ride. So a lot of skate park designers build skate parks for Wednesday at 10 a.m. when the kids are in school. Mm-hmm. And skate parks need to be designed for Saturday when everyone's there. Dad, mom. You're not designing them for your dreams. So they tend to design really gnarly stuff. So this Linwood Park is really rad. The street course is all linear the way I like it. Not a lot of collision points. It's a great thing. And the pump track is amazing for me.
I love pump tracks.
But it's
La
La Quinta's nice because it has rolling gentle.
Like
Linwood will fuck your knees up if you're not ready. It's like I can go Mach 3000 and I fucking ride it like a champ. I'm telling you. But it's not what I would build for a community. I would have softened it up. I would have made it like more functional for more people, and people are going to get hurt on it.
there's like a new trend in Europe. Like there's a pump track around every corner.
Yeah, and that's okay.
So much fun, man. You just go and like just pump, and you can like do skate and like just go fast.
And we have a pump track going in the new
Costa
Costa Mesa one, a small one.
Oh, sick.
But I'm pissed because Spawn Ranch made every bump the exact same height, the exact same
Oh,
distance. I'm
no.
like, no, organic. We want flow. We want
Yes.
fun. Like, I mean, it's like, and we're mad because they want
all
to
this-
do that because they just want to take the easiest route out to get it done. And we're like, no, you're not. This is our city. We're like, I mean, Costa Mesa, we had all the skateboard manufacturers, the whole fucking action sports industry was in our city for years like that. We have surfers, skaters, like, you're not going to come fuck up our city.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we're having to fight for it now, and it makes me mad, you know, that we have to fight for that. You know, that literally just today, literally was getting the message from the county supervisor, like, well, they're relying on Spawn Ranch. Like, oh my God, so now I'm going to have to go to city council meetings and you know, I might have to write Aaron Spawn a note and say, you know what? I'm going to slay your fucking company publicly if you do not fucking make that office and come to me. Because I get tired of these guys. Like, you build one skate park a week, and that's fine. You may get away with that in all sorts of other cities where they just put a little skate park and just left
Not
over.
in your town.
Not in my fucking town. You are not going to fuck my town.
Well, what
up
happens?
And not like, you know,
So what happens when they build a skate park and it's not thought all the way through?
that's why you get most skate parks you go to. And you go, oh, that was really cool. And then until we ran into each other. Then you hit here and, oh, we're colliding each other. Oh, and this was, you know, I mean, most skate parks aren't very well thought through. I mean, every skate park should have shade. Every skate park should have water. Every skate park should have bathrooms. Every skate park should have what most street skaters do linear tricks. They push forward over a pyramid or across a rail or a thing. When you build the thing to ride like a pinball machine, like it's a contest course, okay, they're not riding in a contest, and they're riding with 15 other people. And you can't have a guy coming from here while you're going from here. And they do that stuff. And I go, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. You know, it's like, do you not even look at the lines of where someone's going to ride in this thing that you're actually papering, architecturally, putting plans out and building out of concrete? And you're just going to have, I already see a 12-year-old kid dropping in here, breaking his shoulder. And I see this kid doing here. Like, why would you do that? That makes me mad. So I'm definitely irritated by skate park design in general. You know, and not because I want them to design it for me, because I mean, if I design it for me, it'd be completely different than what I've probably seen any skate park, you know. But I don't expect kids to skate like I do, you know. And I also wouldn't not make something for them, you know. It's like you have to make a skate park. There's a lot of generations of skateboarding, you know.
That's cool that you're looking out for multiple generations as opposed to you just saying, I want my dream skate park too.
I've seen it happen too many times. I'm 62. Yeah. If I just went in there, I would just build a pool of full pipe and a freaking snake run or something like that. And it could be like I said, the Linwood one is rad. I posted a video on like a month ago. I was like 1.7 million views on it. People fucking love pump tracks, and I did go really fucking fast, you know. But I wouldn't build that for a city because it's too gnarly. It's sketchy. It's going to break people off. You know what I mean? It's not that. I mean, it's just it's done. It should be more friendly. You know. Yeah, skate park design's a gnarly one. I get in a lot of trouble when I open my mouth.
Any other questions in regards to skate parks?
I'm learning so much, bro.
Okay.
And like kind of. So I'm a big collector.
He's
Obviously,
got
I'm a
more
big collector,
skateboards
right?
than I could even imagine.
People try to say whatever. Oh, but first off, people think I should be a professional skater because it's a requirement to collect skateboards, which to me makes.
I think most of the biggest collectors I know aren't professional skateboarders.
There's a whole reason why I collect is because I did all that stuff on the basketball court. I look at skateboarding, I'm like, damn, dude, they're doing things that I can't do. I want to support. I love that. And then the art, the nostalgia.
I think if you like them, you should collect them. Right. That should be the only rule.
That's it.
If you don't like them, don't collect them.
That's it.
I feel bad for someone who collects stuff they don't like.
Right.
They're like, I'm going to collect it because someday it's going to be worth money. Like, you don't even like it. What the fuck would you waste your time for?
Right.
Like, at least when I walk around my pile full of skateboards, I'm like, all right, like, laying around surrounded by skateboards, at least it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So.
And so the grace I'll give people is like, people do expect me already, like immediately to just be this skate historian. I think there's something to be said about experience over time, learning. Like, so all these episodes and definitely the decades that you have.
Well, I agree with that. People also think that I should know everything about skate history because I was a pro skateboarder. I don't even know half the tricks that get done because I don't care. If I don't do them, I'm not going to pay attention and care.
Right.
So why would I like, you know, that I've always had a business going and skateboarding and other things in life and house and kids and you know and some people I know, like, you could ask them any and they'll go find the magazine it's in and pull it out and we're like okay, I remember that picture, cool for you. I don't remember the name on there, what page it's on. I don't give a shit. You know, it's like I care about like having fun on a skateboard.
Yeah. What do you like? What do you like? That's why I got in this, because I liked certain boards. I love skating. That's all I need. I don't need to go any further than
Skateboards
that.
are great art. They're somehow 100 years from now they're going to write back on that's like the craziest form of art on earth was skateboards. I mean, because think how many places you go to now, just a restaurant that has found that put 6 skateboards on a wall.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
my kid was in Portugal like last week, and he freaking took a picture of one of my skateboards in a fucking pizza place. You know,
Whoa.
and this is what I love about it because my kid's been around skateboards his whole life. He sends me pictures of skateboards on a wall, and first thing I go, oh, how cool! There's a Jinx board up there. And the second picture, I look at it, I zoom in really far away, and I'm like, and he just replies because he's in Portugal while he's ready. He goes, oh, I didn't even see that. And then I go, there's one of mine too. And I go, which did you mean, his or mine? He goes, oh, both. He saw the skateboards and took pictures of just skateboards on a wall to show his dad. He didn't even look to see which ones they were. He didn't realize one of them was mine. And so the next day he went back and took a picture of it. But it was pretty funny. There was it's called Nolly. Nolly. It's a pizza place, and a friend of mine from Portugal. He says my friend owns it, but.
Cool.
But yeah, who'd think that stuff like a guy from China, filmed some stuff with me. Like 'cause I used to wear Vision shoes back then, and some company bought the Vision streetwear thing, and they filmed some stuff, did some interviews, and they showed me pictures of me playing on a screen in Shanghai. It's like, which I think is ironic. 'Cause I'm the guy in skateboarding who fought China even to make boards, But and I go, no, my being played on the screen in Shanghai. It's just skateboarding, man. It's a big world that ties together.
Skateboard competitions. What were they like in the 80s? And what do you think a skateboard competition format should be these days? What do you think, for example, for street and park? But let's start with the 80s. How was it in the 80s?
Well, I mean, in the 80s, it was there was a couple different formats. Primarily, it was the 45-second run.
45-second.
Yeah, 45-second run. It might be 2 runs, sometimes 3 runs. Could be your best run. It could be the average. Yeah, it depended. The formats weren't always the same. Typically they would take like the top 10 or the top 8 for the finals. There were a few times they did head-to-head, where it would be like once you got the top 10, they seeded them, and you went to winner's bracket, loser's bracket. You had to fight your way back, and that was kind of interesting. But in general, it was very competitive. I mean, Tony Hawk and Lester Kasai were best of friends, but when they dropped in, it was like Lester was going to try to go bigger and higher, and Tony was going to try to throw in that little extra spin fuck you trick and win the contest. That's what I call it. He always surprised us with a new fuck you trick.
Yeah.
Well, it was just because none of you can do it like and he was really cunning because he never did them until the finals.
He saved the best trick for the finals.
Yeah, he had a new trick that no one had ever seen.
Strategy.
No one had ever seen before, and he would practice and do like same runs over time. And he just always qualified at the top. And at the end, like when it's like, okay, now it's neck and neck. It's like, all right, here comes the fuck you. People are like, their jaws are going, what the fuck was that he just did? And so he was really good at that. So yeah, 80s contests were they were fun, but they were very competitive. And you had to. I mean, to be a pro, once you slipped to the back, you knew you weren't going to be out there for very long. So
You mentioned like all these different formats. What format spoke to you the most, or what format did you feel like, all right, this should be the format moving forward?
Well, I think it was just because it was comfortable and you got used to it. Most was just the 45-second runs. Usually best run was the run they took, and then you took the top 10 and cut it down from there. The head-to-head thing got a little bit too weird and complicated, and and if someone gets knocked out, and it can be even like tennis, if someone gets knocked out in the first heat, who should have put in the top 2, but because they got put against the best guy to start with, and they got put in number 2, now they're in the losers bracket, and they get up again. I mean, it's a little bit harder to climb back. So I'd say the judged run.
Now the Olympic format is for street.
Horrible.
It's 2 runs.
Horrible.
Best run counts, and then 5 singles and 2 count.
Yeah, but you can still knock out the run, can't you?
So
I have a really good story on this.
One of the runs counts, and then there's 5 singles. But now people are trying crazy stuff on the singles. Yeah. So sometimes they don't land stuff.
No, I understand that.
So that's for street, and for the park it's 3 runs of 45 seconds. So what do you think about those formats? Or what do you?
Okay. I mean, the 3 runs, 45 seconds. I don't disagree. That are they picking highest score? Period. Or are they
highest score out of the 3 runs.
And that works. That makes sense. I don't like the whole street league format. I don't because I don't.
Why?
Because
The
I grew up
singles,
I grew up watching skaters skate against each other, and now they're skating against the object, doing one trick. That's not showing me who the best skater is. Who shows me the best skater is when they do the whole course run. That's when I see who the best skater is, because just by their approach, their speed, their style, their consistency, that's how I know who the best skater is. Sometimes someone gets lucky and makes a really gnarly trick, and if that makes them the best skater at that trick for that moment, that's fine. But that's not what you should be doing to be saying this is the best skater. Okay, that's just my opinion. Not everyone agrees with that.
So runs then.
When Street League started, I remember, I went to Deerdick's place with some friends, and one of the girls was the marketing director.
It's Rob Deerdick and Brian Etlis. They decided that format.
The Street League format.
The Street League format, the singles.
I don't know who the other guy was,
And then-
but I know Rob.
Yeah,
But
they decided on that format. And
but there was a girl-
that became the Olympic format.
yeah, and I have a great story about that one, because again, I'm always the irritant in the skateboard thing. So, but just to start with the Street League thing, I'd never been to a Street League because it doesn't really appeal to me that much. Like to watch guys do one trick over and over again, that's just really boring to me. And it would be boring for vert too. If I just watch guys just doing one trick, I'd be like, okay, no. I want to watch real flow. So a girl asked me, she goes, well, have you ever been to a Street League? And no, she goes, well, if you ever do, would you tell me what you think of it? And she was the marketing director or something like that. And I remember her writing her back and saying, okay, I went to one in LA. I watched it. The real diehard street kids were really excited. The people, the parents, the things that they were with them were mostly going, what's going on? What are they doing? Why does this doesn't make sense?
Nobody's landing anything?
There's no spectator. There's no spectator joy in just watching what was taking place, which is a problem with it. But as I told him, as I remember writing her and saying, like, if every summer when the Olympics happens, whenever years it happens, people watch gymnastics. Like as a whole, they like watching gymnastics. Why?
Very
the
popular.
floor exercises, the bars. They're doing 30 of the gnarliest things you've ever seen, and so on and so forth. They also have the vault. What you're doing is you're giving them the vault 6 times over, and you're not letting them do the floor exercises, and you're saying the vault is more important than the floor exercises. Well, guess what? If gymnastics did that, all their viewership would die. No one would watch it anymore. No one would be that interested. Except for the technical diehard, gymnast who wanted to see that one vault take place. I go, it's not a sustainable thing to keep advertisers. It's not going to keep,
viewership,
all the stuff
right?
go viewership. Or that's not exciting.
Yeah.
And I go, and honestly, it doesn't show who the best fucking rider is. The best rider rides that whole course for 45 seconds, does the hardest stuff they can do, and still stay on their board. Okay? There may be harder stuff any of them can do, and they might make it, but how they avoid that, they give them 6 tries to do it. So it's like, I'm sorry, that's just not the skateboarding that I grew up with, but it's not also, to me, that's not fun skateboarding. It's like, 6 tries, come on. So that was my first opinion on that. So then when I've been following the Olympic stuff, going to the industry stuff over the years, when Woodward different people are having meetings and just kind of following it, watching it. Again, the industry was like, fuck the Olympics or this and that. And I'm like going, don't be like you were about the advertisers when it was the big 5 guys. You need to realize it's going to happen because it's a big media thing. You can't stop. You need to just make sure you have as much control of it as possible. Of course, they didn't get any control of it because they didn't bond together. They fought. And again, the Olympics decided how to do it, not them. Got taken over by some roller skating thing.
By World Skate.
World Skater at that.
Italy.
Yeah.
Shout out to World Skate guys.
Yeah, shout out World Skate. I don't know if that's even the roller skate people I was talking about. It might have been someone before that, even in the U.S., who claimed they were the voice of skateboarding for the United States, and they had to fight through that. But regardless of all that, they're having a meeting at one of the ASR agenda shows, and someone says, Jim, are you going to the meeting today? I'm like, what meeting? Oh, it's a meeting about the Olympics. And I go, I didn't even hear about it. And it's like, whatever, it's noon, it's at 3:00, I go to the meeting, and there's all the people there, like the Spot Tampa guys, the World Cup skateboarding people from all different countries who ran contests and stuff like that. And when they're talking about the Olympics, they're going, well, and we're going to do the 45-second run thing for the thing, and we're going to be using the Street League format for the street competition. And I raised my hand, because everyone else is just being silent because you don't ever speak against the guys. And I go, okay. I go, why? During the time since they said that, I whispered around to the people like Spot Tampa, do you guys use Street League format? World Cup, do you use Street League format? You in Australia, do you use Street League format? Do you in France, the Street League format? And I go, okay, no one here uses Street League format but Street League. Why would you force the world to change to a format that they don't use because clearly they don't think it's the best format. And to be honest, as a skateboarder, it doesn't pick the best skateboarder. It picks the best trick. I go, why would you use that as a format? And the answer I was given, well, the best skater usually wins anyways. That was really how they answered the question. And I got calls from like the boss sticks at World Cup Skateboarding. I think the week after, there was a lot of emails going after that, like, because I spoke up and they're like, yeah, why are they doing that? Still didn't matter because those guys are the ones who have the momentum. They're the ones who have that cool guy status. They're the ones who, but I was just like trying to point out that's the Olympics is where you go and it's about real competition, warriors fighting for javelin, running. Like, we want skateboarders give them 6 tries and give the gold medal to the guy who does the best landings, not the one who rides the best course. And then when I even watched the course, and again, that's why I asked you about the what counts and what doesn't count. Because I remember one of the people in the first year was like, oh, if she makes this next rail trick, she can eliminate her run score. Because they were giving like 5-point scores for the tricks and 3-point scores for the best runs. And they were counting like the 3 highest scores. So you could win the whole contest on literally your tricks, and your score is eliminated entirely. And I watched, like, in particular, as I watched the girls, one of the girls was like so much better than everybody else. She just didn't do the best tricks when it came to the trick thing. And the way I'm looking at it, it's so backwards. That should be 90% of the score should be you're showing us what you do in 45 seconds, maybe 10% tweak for adding trick bonus points or something like that. Not the other way. You don't count the 6 tries to do one trick. The same score is actually going out there and kicking ass for 46. So that's completely backwards to me. As far as truly proving who's the best skateboarder, who does, but then people think because it's a video world, oh, but the best trick is what it's all about. The best trick that you land.
So you're saying 6 chances.
It's actually 5 chances.
5
chances.
They've adapted it over time.
Yeah. And 2 chances for
the
runs.
You're suggesting.
No, I'm saying that's what you get. They take that rail and say you get 5 tries to make a trick.
Right.
That trick is kind of counting more as much as the run.
What would you suggest?
I would say that 80 to 90% of the score should be the run.
So weight the run way
so
higher.
So the best person with the best run should start at the big peak, and the only way someone who didn't do as good a run could ever beat them was by doing the banger after banger after banger. It shouldn't be like, oh, I did 3 pretty good tricks, but I sucked on the actual course. You know what I mean? Because I only focused on those tricks. It's just not picking the best skateboarder.
What do you guys think the general public what format would they prefer to watch? Non-skater public.
Well, non-skater public would definitely prefer to watch them riding the whole course.
Runs?
Absolutely.
Versus singles?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, it's kind of like the Olympics, the vault. Show me the vault for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then get me back to the floor exercises and let me see them do all that really rad stuff. I want to see them do all the really rad stuff. Not just the,
It's interesting, though, because I think now the public is already conditioned with that. It's like a leapfrog. Yeah. It's the leapfrog.
No, but it's true. They are conditioned, but they were conditioned through spoon feeding. Run is
so much more challenging, but because it's like you screw up on one trick, it's like, your run's done. So I think that actually, as funny as it sounds, watching it sucks
because from a vert perspective, if you fall on one trick, you already know you lost.
Right. You're done.
You're done. So you have to make your whole thing. The street guys can do the same thing. They can make their whole run.
Yeah.
And they need to push it as far as they think they can. And they do it on the first run, they do the conservative one. And that second run, they push it. And if they make the first one and they know they got a good score, then they try to kill it harder.
Yeah.
If they fuck up, that's life. They walk away, they're still okay.
Right.
But to make them have to, I can't ride it good at all because I might fall. It's like, no, then you're really not that great of a skateboarder or racer or whatever you were at. You're not that good at it. If you have to rely on the one try, you get 5 attempts to try it.
So almost flipping it. So like the best trick is kind of like your bonus. That's
like the icing on the cake. The other thing's the cake.
Run is where,
that's how I would do it.
Compulsory tricks. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that we were the first people to do that. And the Gold Cup series started that because they were planning for the Olympics back then. That's why it started. They were thinking you're going to have to do certain things to get Olympic qualifying, and they were trying to structure it so that it could be kind of an Olympic thing someday.
How many tricks?
We had to do like 5 or 6 or something like that. Yeah, we had to do like a backside air, invert, and it literally shed half the people. So from like the Hester series guys came into the Gold Cup series, but half of them couldn't do an invert or do a certain air or something like that, and they just literally fell right off.
For our viewers who don't know about what a compulsory trick is that essentially like a mandatory trick, that a required trick in your run?
A compulsory trick is saying you don't just go in and have 30 seconds to do what you want. Say, during this run, you must do these 5 tricks. You have to prove that you can do these 5 tricks. And back then it was like what it might have been a rock and roll, an air, a backside air, an invert,
like basics,
like that.
How exciting!
Like basics, but basics that are cutting edge, not basics that are just riding your skateboard.
So it still was exciting.
So do you recommend it for modern format?
That's a good question. I don't. That's a good question. I mean, honestly, I couldn't really say. I mean, because when it comes down to like how they're even judging these days, like I said, the street course thing, all the emphasis seems to be put on the single trick, and that's like, man, and again with the whole 5 tries, 6 tries thing, whatever, that just it irritates the shit out of me, to be honest. But and it bores me. It literally bores me watching, even though the tricks are amazing. I totally love the tricks. I'll never put down any of the riders and the amazing tricks they do. Again, they've been conditioned, spoon fed, whatever you want to say. This is what you have to do. But I don't like when people don't look like they're having fun. Like when you're riding the whole course, most people I think are still having fun. It's challenging, but there's fun with it. Doing one trick at a time is trying to be gnarly.
That's damn near our last question. Talk about fun. What does fun mean in skateboarding?
Well, I guess fun is whatever. I guess it's whatever you feel it means. It has to be, because there is no one single fun. Fun for me is just moving and going fast and not taking myself seriously. So I always claim 3 tricks. I say I carve, I grind, I giggle like a little girl. And so basically I'm carving, grinding. When I screw up, I land on the ground, I tumble, and I just sit there laughing at myself. I'm always laughing at myself when I skate because I don't take it that seriously. I'm not that impressed by myself.
So you're saying I can have fun skateboarding even though I don't skate like a professional skater?
Absolutely.
What?
The person who smiles when they skate is the best skateboarder. The person who does the best trick, who's grumpy and pissed off all the time, they suck. That's not even good skateboarding. It is not good skateboarding if you're not happy skateboarding. If you're doing it and you're so caught up, it's sad. There's a lot of the reasons that happens is because of that spoon feeding, which is the conditioning. Like, I have to do this or I'm not. Well, dude, don't go skateboarding if it's all about making you have to feel worthy. Like, why do you ride a skateboard? I ride a skateboard because it feels fun to roll, and it feels fun to turn, and it feels fun to go downhill. And it feels fun to go on a carve. I could not imagine. Myself, I always had a 3 trick rule. You when you think you can do a trick, try 3 times, and if you can't make it, just wait till you're ready and come back and try 3 more times. Because if you, and most guys, the way the conditioning has gone, kids will go out with a camera and spend all day and do 75 attempts to do 1 trick. And they come away with a clip and they didn't have any fun. Is that fun? I mean, I don't think that's fun. But some kids think that was their fun. They love skateboarding. They're passionate for it. They want it, but what they don't realize is how much they're shortchanging themselves on how much fun could be had, because and let's face it, we have this false fun now over how many likes did we get, how many hits did we get.
Yeah.
So that's emotional falseness, but it's not. And it does make us feel good, believe me.
Right.
Like I told you, I got 1.7 million hits. I had another video up like a year and a half ago, 7 million views.
What?
And I was like, and they aren't even good videos. They just hit because of algorithms. I said a couple days short of my 61st birthday, that hit the like, oh look, old guy. So it got shared 17,000 times.
Oh wow!
And, and then the pump track when I did it, like so, very. And I know the skateboarding is nothing special in them. You know what I mean? But you do get that little adrenaline hit. Hey, It's pretty cool. Got that many views. But unfortunately, with this new generation, they're so tied to the connection with their friends, their viewers, if they're gaining, if they're growing. They technically are still having fun, but I can tell them I know a different kind of fun from an earlier time. And man, I think it's a lot. And I know both because I do also get excited when I see that.
Yes.
But I get so much more fun when I'm actually having fun, when the motion is fun, when movement is fun.
That's why I stayed out of skate parks, actually. Dude, I had more fun when I was just like flat grounding. Before I knew, you know what I mean? There's something about that like raw essence that I always tell people, like, whatever you're getting into, I'm like, dude, enjoy it right now. Like, just enjoy this. Even if you quote unquote think you suck, or if you're experimenting, or if what you're doing is not conventional, but you're having fun, you need to enjoy it. Because once you learn all these, like, oh, it should be done this way and it should be done this way, and it's like that form of you, that raw, it's like a whole new thing now.
No, I agree.
Thing,
I agree. No, real fun, unheld back just joy of rolling around on your skateboard, not caring if anybody saw it or not caring if it's on video. It's rare. It's rare for anybody anymore of any age.
So, any last messages you have? Yeah, about to pull the board, but hold 1 second.
Oh, we have
So,
another board. Damn.
what message do you have for all the skaters out there watching? And also, where are we going? Where's skateboarding going?
Well, I think because
You
of
can keep it short.
things like the Olympics, skateboarding is being accepted on a wider scale by society. So we're going to have 5 times more skate parks than we have now. All the cities that we've been fighting for 30 years to build one are going to build one now. Unfortunately, due to some of our skate park design problems, a lot of them are going to suck. But there will be a lot of places to skate. I think I don't know what's going to happen with skateboarding because the whole access of like so easy to make 20 boards here. There's going to be a million brands. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to where there's going to be some huge top selling
The big
guys.
fives.
You know, if there'll be technology that comes along, maybe someone will buy into carbon fiber and fiberglass and they'll make it feel just as good and it'll last longer. And suddenly it'll be like, oh man, that, you know, that could change things. You know, I think for the most part, you know, people are just gonna find their path because there's gonna be so many places to skate. I definitely don't see skateboarding tapering off. I see it still growing, you know, well, especially with places to skate. But the business is going to keep getting harder and harder. Obviously, as you've learned, there's too many, and that's every business. I'm in the sticker.
Easier
I'm in the
entry
sticker
point.
business. You really talk about that too
Talk
much.
about
but,
that.
Well, wait on. But I print stickers. But like, I print stickers with companies because I know people. I know people in surf companies, skate companies, shoe companies. Yeah, you know, whatever. I mean, my current business now is Inkgenda. We print stickers.
Inkgenda.
You know,
Okay.
so you know,
You made the stickers.
You know, this is a sticker sheet that will be cut and punched out and.
Digital
Yeah.
silk screen.
These are probably digital. We do both.
Digital.
We do
You do
digital
both?
and silk screen. You know, and again, my business thrives because I was a pro skateboarder and I know a million people, and I don't have a salesperson. I post pictures of what I do. I share it with people like that. But there's a million competitors now that will offer you the special 100 stickers for $19. And you know,
on Instagram.
and they definitely don't look like this.
No,
I
they're not
guarantee.
vinyl
And they're
gloss
not
finish.
sealed. They're not overlapped.
Yeah.
But they're there, and I get it. I don't even fight that. I even know if someone's like, "Oh, you guys were too busy. I just got some of these done." Okay, I get it. But that's the same thing. You have someone buying stuff on Amazon or something like that. You can't fight it. And people's human nature is I don't like what Amazon is because I do like going into a retail store and looking at televisions and dread the thought of going like, oh, there's no longer a place to display televisions because you can only just have them delivered from. That's kind of where we're going, and I hate that because I grew up touching and feeling things, and I think you lose a lot when you lose that. But I can't also lie that on some commodity things it just becomes easy to just order from Amazon and it arrives. You know, there's been things I've looked for like razor blades for my thing. I couldn't even find replacements for my electric razor except for on Amazon. You know, I tried to look at everywhere locally. So that's a reality we all have to face. But
Experience still,
you know,
it's a different form of the experience.
yeah, and you know, and I'll say, you know, the mall shop is never doing this. They're not sitting up here at midnight freaking talking skateboarding with people. You cannot replace passion, you know, and there will always be a percentage of skateboarders that stay really passionate by the nature of the whole, just the way it kind of functions to ride a skateboard. There will always be there'll all be a lot more that are no longer passionate because they didn't get in it that way. They got in it because of the mainstream lure and whatever. But I think there'll always be enough to keep a kind of a culture stable. And my only advice to people is to have fun. Don't ever forget about having fun skateboarding.
Awesome.
And where can we find you? Socials?
You can find me at Gray Slide, GraySlide, like Gray Slide the Trick, or Inkgenda.
Inkgenda?
Yeah, Inkgenda. That's Instagram there too. It's kind of like Ink Agenda without the A. And that's it. It's my life. Pretty simple.
Last board.
Let's crack it. This is it.
Number 4.
This is it, folks.
This is it.
Rodney Mullen from. I'm sorry.
It's a Rodney Mullen freestyle board from World Industry.
775. Made in the USA.
You won't know yet.
I know.
You flip it over.
I know. I'm doing it on purpose. I'm torturing myself. I'm teasing myself. Oh, look at that. You guys made me an Acme board. I love that.
Yeah.
That was actually so this is something that could not be done 10 years ago because we didn't have our own printers and the ability to do this. So I sent them a bunch of files of some old Acme graphics and And
This was made today,
yeah, I like that.
about an hour before you came.
And I can see where you talked about your white plate. I mean, that's the reality of manufacturing.
You notice it.
No, I can see how it how it went down.
But isn't
you're
it-
trying to put it on quick and you don't get it as smooth as you want and as cured out dry, but no, but hey.
How would you describe it though? Because it says has a one layer screen, right?
It's
one layer screen.
digitally printed on a plastic with a UV printer, like reversed, and then we silk screened the white behind it. But we didn't. We're supposed to wait like a day for the ink to dry. But
Yeah, so the white stayed in like you know how like when you roll paint on and you can
Right.
see it all,
Yeah.
or then it disappears and becomes all smooth.
Right.
This
Yeah.
didn't get to be all smooth.
No.
The roller left all the bumps on it, you know. But it's rad. It's still and the fact
Show the graphic.
Still
Yeah.
the
fresh.
fact that you can make that, you know,
Des, give me one.
in a day,
Yeah.
you know,
Aaron, let's get a photo.
printed here in the back of the shop,
together.
you know.
Yeah. So there it is,
So,
guys.
yeah.
Jim Gray is gonna sign a few of
You're gonna
these.
sign.
I'm trying to the blow up dolls. I can't remember whose idea this was. I think it was mine. I mean, I'm a perv. We're all pervs, but this wasn't my.
So you send the catalog, and then you chose this graphic.
Yeah, it was tough, man.
Why this one?
It just
He
spoke
chose
to
it.
me. It just spoke to
Your
me.
wife doesn't get to listen to this part of this.
This is what we call Morningwood. All right, y'all. We're gonna get some of these signed. Available at Wallride
Wallride
X.
X.
Dez, aka
Jim
Flippin'
Gray.
Boards.
morning wood
Marko,
or morning plastic.
Marko, Sharko, Jazbinsek. You guys, we just did it. Jim
Wow.
Gray, the
Wow.
legendary Hall of Famer. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me. I had a
Thank you,
good time.
X marks the
Appreciate it.
spot.
Wow.
We'll catch you on the next episode. Let's do it.
Sounds fun. And for any enemy I made tonight, good for you.
Yeah.
Jim, thank you so much.
Oh,
man.
yeah, no, these are awesome,
So
dude. I really
sick.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. All right,
This
let's,
Thank you.
Oh my God!
Oh,
I'm-
yeah.
my-